The regular meeting of the Desert Community College District Board of Trustees is called to order. I believe we're about 2 minutes late. Sorry about that. Let me remind everyone to please turn your cell phones to vibrate or off at this time. And if you're like me and you have alarms that go off to remind you when it's time to go home, you need to turn them all the way off. Sorry. At this time, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to have Trustee Broughton, please.
Please join me as we honor our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
And at this time, we'll have the roll call by President Kinnaman.
Trustee Wilson and Sanchez, I believe they're both excused today.
Yes, they are.
Student Trustee Campbell will probably be joining us later. Trustee Broughton.
Present.
Trustee O'Neill.
Present.
Trustee Stephan.
Present. Just for the public's awareness, Trustee Sanchez and Trustee Wilson are at a national conference in New York at this time, and I believe it is snowing there today. So they are excused. The board meeting agenda. Pursuant to the Government Code Section 54954.2b2, the board may take action on items of business not appearing on the posted agenda upon a determination by a 2/3 vote of the board, or if less than 2/3 of the members are present, a unanimous vote of those present. That there is a need to take immediate action, and that the need for action came to the attention of the local agency subsequent to the agenda being posted as specified. Are there any additions, corrections, and deletions to the agenda of March 20th, 2015?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to delete action item B1, Board Policy 2210, Officers of the Board. The material is not ready for this meeting and will be for the April meeting.
So we're going to postpone that to the next meeting, pull it
Yes.
from this agenda. Okay. That will be a deletion till next month. At this time, I need to draw everyone's attention to the fact that we are going to be adding also one item in the area of human resources. It will become item 1 under action agenda. It's the approval of the 2015-2016 College of the Desert academic calendar, and I understand it was just approved yesterday by the Academic Senate, so it could not have been posted prior to that time. Okay. Are there any other additions, corrections, or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda stands confirmed as amended. At this time, we're supposed to be going into a closed session where we will be until 10:30, but I believe we reconvene at 10:45. That saves me running back and forth saying, give us 5 more minutes, please, because we always seem to go over a little bit. So we're giving ourselves a few minutes there. Okay?
Right.
I understand that we have people in the audience that wanted to speak at the public comment time, and I apologize, but that part is after the closed session agenda. So we will remember that you were here, and we appreciate your coming to be heard by the board, and hopefully someone will be able to come back and speak at later time. Okay? So thank you, and at this time we are what are we? We are recessed to closed session.
Valspar Reserve Paint
Convene. Coming back from closed session, if I could have it quiet in the room. If not, we'll have to clear the room. Give you 1 more minute to calm down. Thank you. I realize we're late. I apologize. We have nothing to report out from closed session. At this time, we are up to public comments.
Oh, public update.
Public updates. Public updates. Public updates. So if I could have Dr. Kinnaman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Over the last year, College of the Desert has been working through a process to review and update contracts and agreements with all auxiliary organizations, including the COD Foundation and others. The focus of these efforts is on clarifying roles and responsibilities, ensuring compliance with fiscal, regulatory, and code requirements, and looking for opportunities to leverage strategies, maximize resources, streamline communication, and increase resource efficiencies. This process is part of our effort to strengthen the college and our support for students. As the Board of Trustees of the College of the Desert reviews agreements and contracts with the Alumni Association, discussions have also included exploring ways to expand alumni membership, maximize and focus revenues in support of students, and building long-standing relationships with our alumni, which is over 120,000 individuals. Obviously, our shared goal is to continue and actually strengthen our long-standing relationship with the Alumni Association and the Street Fair, which has been so supportive of our students over so many years. In fact, it was with much gratitude of the long-standing commitment and dedication to our students that I chose to honor the contribution of the Street Fair merchants at the recent Hall of Fame event by recognizing them with the President's Award. The Alumni Association currently operates very similar to an auxiliary of the College of the Desert. It's organized as a 501c3 with a separate board and using the college name and logo. But it actually functions independently with no direct oversight, no reporting or transparency requirements, and this has led to some confusion regarding the role and responsibility of the college and its board, as well as some issues for the college regarding conformity to education code and other state and federal laws. For the last few months, in recognition of our shared goals and our history of collaboration, we have been discussing with the Alumni Association Board opportunities to further align our efforts. These discussions have included the possibility for formalizing our relationship using the auxiliary structure as the most efficient way to maintain and strengthen operations, fully ensure compliance with college rules, regulations, and codes, increase transparency and collaboration, maintain the Street Fair location at the Palm Desert campus location, and maximize the resources for our students and expand alumni relations and programs. It is our hope that we, the College Board of Trustees, together can agree on a direction within the next few weeks, including an updated memorandum of understanding with the Alumni Association and a renewed contract for the Street Fair. Once finalized, I plan to bring a resolution to the board to formally dedicate funds raised by the Street Fair to support students and provide student support at College of the Desert. I also intend to create a task force to help explore ways we can strengthen our collaboration, including development of an overall plan for strengthening alumni relations and expanding membership. The working group will include alumni, college staff, administrators, students, foundation staff, alumni association staff, merchants, board members, and community members. We are deeply appreciative of the many decades of support provided for our students by the Alumni Association and the Street Fair. I look forward to working together with all stakeholders to strengthen this important relationship for our students. This past Wednesday, I attended the 30th anniversary luncheon for the Foundation Auxiliary, now called the Academic Angels. Jeannie Hilb, many of you know her because her name's out here on the Hill building, the founding president of the auxiliary, told a story about Rose Bill. Rose was on the auxiliary board and was the manager of Bullocks. Rose gave the auxiliary overstock merchandise from Bullocks: blouses, shirts, blue jeans, shoes, and household items. Coeda Barker and Jeannie Hilb set up an area outdoors on the campus and sold everything. They did that for a couple of weeks, and then they asked the Alumni Association to get involved. What a wonderful story about the inception of the street fair. It is a great legacy of our foundation, auxiliary, and alumni association, all working to benefit our College of the Desert students. That's my update. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to public comments. Persons who wish to speak to the board on any item may do so at this time. There's a time limit of 3 minutes per person and 15 minutes per topic, unless further time is granted by the board. Your comments will be timed, and you will be asked to stop speaking when the timer sounds. Please understand the board welcomes your comments, but is not able to respond to those comments. The first request that I have to speak before the board is from Mary Smith. Please have a seat, state your name, and
My name is Mary Monson Smith. I've been a vendor at the COD Street Fair since February of 1986. I employ this, my booth has been my sole support for 29 years, and so I'm very concerned as to what your intentions are with the street fair and the alumni. I have four, I took speech in college, but that's been 35 years ago. So I'm a little shaky. But I have 4 employees. I have one that came here to the college as an exchange student, Yuki, from Japan. And she has been an employee now of mine for 7 years, and this is a big part of her financial support as she continues her education. I also have a full-time student working for me, J.C. Cruz, that has worked for me now for 5 years. This is his sole support and pays for his education here at the College of the Desert. I'm very concerned, and I feel that the college needs to concentrate on education and not the business of the street fair. The two should be kept separate. The alumni has been a nonprofit, and its goal in its inception of the street fair was strictly for scholarships and other needs over the years that the college has had. They've helped support. I believe that the alumni has done a great job with the street fair. We've had our ups and downs, but overall, it's pretty well a well-oiled machine. And I think it's been a great asset to the college. And my one big question I have is, who would run the street fair? Would it be turned over to a management company that's that's more interested in profits than the vendors? I am also concerned with the president addressing this. When the president took away 250 parking spaces from us here at peak season because a customer took his parking space in retaliation. This is huge. That broke down to, my understanding, roughly 7,000 customers a day that we lost at the street fair for several weeks. Now that was an impact to all of us financially. So I really want to know, is that really somebody we want in charge of our street fair? Pretty much that's all I have to say. I'm very concerned about this situation here. Thank you very much.
I will say this once. I understand your enthusiasm from the audience, but please confine it because it will run up the time of the next person to speak. Okay? So could I have Jason Barlow please come forward?
Good morning. I'm Jason Barlow, current Merchant Board President of the College of the Desert Alumni Association Street Fair. I am a proud owner-operator of cool stuff you didn't know you needed every Saturday and Sunday for the past 6 years. I'm here today to express the concerns that the Merchant Association, merchant body, have for the future of our street fair. We feel we are in the dark with very little information about this possible change in control over the street fair and how it will affect the market and all it contributes to. Our street fair is often imitated but never duplicated. We have all seen markets open around our valley and elsewhere to close only to poor attendance and lack of quality merchant participation. Our street fair is an amazing success with an incredible set of merchants that offer products and services like no other. Our customers and visitors love the experience of spending the day at the street fair. I know you must be extremely proud and impressed with the way your alumni association has put so much passion and dedication into developing the street fair and raising funds and inspiring others to do the same. This all started in 1984 when they raised $11,000 for a scholarship endowment fund, and last year's contributions were over $700,000. Not to mention the positive social and economic impact the street fair has within the city of Palm Desert, throughout the Coachella Valley, and beyond. I also contribute the success of the street fair to the unique cooperation between the college, the College Alumni Association Board, the street fair management, and the merchants, each playing a key role I believe cannot be substituted. I do not believe you can replace a volunteer's energy, passion, and enthusiasm with a strictly monetarily driven individual business model and expect the same results. Remember, the Alumni Association has one priority: raising money by means of the street fair to the betterment of the college and its students. You'll be hard-pressed to find another group of individuals that will do the same. This is all accomplished by putting on the best street fair possible. Of course, we have the best customers on earth. In my opinion, the street fair has a good momentum now, and I would hate to see that lost. But I am confident that both the Alumni Association and the college together can come together to an agreement that is in the best interest of all parties affected in this situation. I appreciate the opportunity to voice our concerns about this uncertainty in the street fair's future today, and I hope when this is all said and done, we can strengthen the relationships of all parties involved and continue working towards a common goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Savastano, and I'm sorry if I said the name wrong.
I know who you were talking about.
Please correct it for us.
Good morning. My name is Pat Savastano. I'm the owner-operator of Spoiled Dog Designs, or as my fellow merchants call me, I'm the dog lady. I've been at the street fair for 7 years. It's the place I started, founded, began, and have been growing my business year after year. I employ every year 1 or 2 students and 2 seamstresses in Palm Springs that make my products that I design and we manufacture. Before coming to the street fair, my entire career was spent in Fortune 50 companies. Some of them had foundations, and those foundations raised money for charitable contributions rather than the corporation or the corporate part of the companies, which raised money for profit. I look at the Alumni Association in my head, which kind of is wired after all those years as an organization chart. I look at the Alumni Association as kind of like one of those foundations in the corporations that I used to work in, and see them, in my mind, as needing to sit outside of the bottom line responsibility and structure of the college or corporation. Okay. Based on my own experience, and I can only talk about my own experience, I have a concern about the street fair being moved to report to an executive within the college structure. Here are my concerns. It will no longer report to an executive whose only priority will be the street fair. but instead it will be one of many priorities reporting to that person. We all know how busy our executives are, any executive is today. Does anyone need the enormous responsibility of this street fair in addition to what they're already busy with? If your budget time and season is like the ones I went through, there are only so many dollars available to be divvied up amongst all of the budgetary departments. Now, I know what I went through vying for budgetary monies. Now, maybe the college systems go through the budget process a lot easier than corporations. I don't know. But we were always in a very political struggle to try and get monies for this department versus another department, or monies to go here, monies to go there. Where can the money best be spent to drop money to the bottom line? I can't believe that you're in a very different situation. Monies are always easier given to departments that make money rather than staff departments that spend money. So will it be harder for the street fair to get the budget money it needs to keep it as the best street fair in the area? To do what it takes to hold its position amongst the growing number of street fairs that steal market share from us? When there are conflicting priorities during budget cuts, will the street fair lose in those budget priority challenges?
I'm sorry, but your time is up.
Okay,
Thank you for
thank you.
addressing us. I believe this is Terry Weissman. Terry Weissman.
My name is Terry Weitzman, and my wife Lori and I are in our 13th year as merchants. The name of our company is Just Jewels, and we sell women's and girls' flip-flops, shoes, purses, accessories, of which some are very well-known brands. There are 4 of us running our booth, my wife, myself, and 2 sales young ladies, one being who attends the College of the Desert, and the 5th person who loads and unloads our trailer. We also employ people that set up and tear down our booth. We're here to express our concern that the College of the Desert Association's street fair could come under the control of the college. As you're well aware, the street fair has been run successfully for 30 years, and because of the Alumni Association, they have contributed not only to the success of merchants, but have raised millions of dollars for scholarship funds to the college, bus passes, and other activities. In addition, the Alumni Association and street fair merchants employ many college students, which gives them on-the-job experience by learning business practices such as sales and marketing and merchandising, in addition to learning skills in how to run a business, which will help them no matter what vocation they choose. Our concern is the obvious. If the college does take control over the Alumni Association, there's definitely a chance that the funds, whether they be large or small amounts, could be taken away from the merchants by the college, which could affect not only the street fair, but the scholarship funds, bus passes, and even the funds needed for advertising, equipment upgrades, and the livelihoods of employees, including students working at the street fair. Even if the college intends to hire their own personnel as an alumni or a similar association, it's still the college that's controlling the funds, and if it comes down to both are in need of money, we all have a very strong feeling that decision will be heavily towards the college itself. Obviously, we feel that the Alumni Association Street Fair Management and Street Fair Merchants Association are helping to build a better street fair. Obviously, in any business, you have good years and not so good years. You're going to hear or have heard some complaints that business is tough, and there are merchants who are going to blame management. At this time, there are a few factors why our business is soft. Over the last few years, we've had loss of parking due to new buildings here at the college and the fact that the Canadian dollar is down. Those 2 alone contribute to the lack of stronger sales. Another factor, having been in the fashion industry for over 30 years, I walk around the street fair every weekend and have noticed merchants who have had the same things for years and are not doing anything to enhance the product mix, which is impacting their business while putting the blame on the street fair for their weak sales.
If you could just, thank you.
We just hope that the board rethinks that.
Thank you. The next individual is Cecilia A. Lemus. I apologize again. These are very difficult to read. Just come forward and speak. And please restate your name since I did a terrible
hi-
job.
It's fine. My name is Cecilia A. Lemus. I'm here representing the COD Alumni Association, the club, as a student. It's my first year I was granted the scholarship, which I'm very grateful for. And basically, when I first entered into the club, I was so inspired to see like my president, Fatima, who she's so young and how she's such a leader, and I just really wanted to be that and grow also as a student, as a person, as a leader. And I know that with the Alumni Association and who they are and how they run everything, they've helped me so much. They've helped me grow as a leader, as I've been saying, and my confidence. Like, I've never been so involved as I have at this point in my life, and I know that it is because of the Alumni Association. And next year, I plan to, along with another scholar who couldn't attend, to be co-chairs for next year's club. I hope this opportunity isn't taken from me, and also other students, that the club stays as it is, and that the Alumni Association stays as it's being ran, because they're doing a wonderful job, and I know we're all grateful. And I hope you guys all rethink your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. That was 5 speakers for the Alumni Association, and I need to ask my board if they would like to grant more time to allow the other speakers to make their opinions.
How many do we have?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more.
That would be approximately doubling your time, so that works for me.
Is that all right? Okay, with no objection, we'll continue on. So at this time, we have Crystal Sacedo.
Good morning. So, my name is Crystal Salcido. I'm former president of the COD Alumni Scholarship Club. Fatima is the current president, and as former president and former recipient of the COD Alumni Scholarship for 3 years, I could see the big impact that the Alumni Association has had on students. We had two goals for the scholarship club, and that was one, to enhance the experience here at the community college level. As you all know, there's not that much spirit here. And so we wanted to enhance that through the scholarship club, and also the other goal was to create networking skills amongst the students and and connections between the students and the staff here. I can tell you through my experience with the scholarship club, that a lot of students have had their experience here at College of the Desert enhanced. We've gone to many college tours, to Cal State Fullerton, to UCSD, to USD. We've gone to beach trips, to bowling nights, movie nights, all of which have been 100% funded by the COD Alumni Association. I myself, as former president, I developed skills, leadership skills that I still carry with me today, and I will carry for the rest of my life. pretty much I started the club, and I'm very proud of all the work and the progress that Fatima has been able, along with all the other members, and I see it growing even more. The student involvement has really impressed me, and I know that it is, as Cecilia mentioned, has offered her opportunities to better herself, and I'm just really proud of all the work, and like it has been expressed, COD Alumni Association has done a wonderful job. I really don't see it being able to be run any better by anyone else. So, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that it has been a huge, huge positive impact for the students here at College of the Desert. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Salas?
My time start when I distribute this to you, or?
No, when you start talking at the microphone. And our student trustee as well over there, if you would please.
Good morning, honorable members of the Board of Trustees at College of the Desert. I have a long, extensive history here affiliated with the college. As a 1972 graduate of College of the Desert, and as a person who opens up his property tax rolls every given year and see that I'm a paying member of the Community College District, I respect and appreciate the representation I have. But here's the situation. I'm also a high school counselor at Coachella Valley High School. And I know that high school, our high school, is one of the top 3 feeder high schools into the college here itself. In addition to that, this year I have 547 seniors that myself and another counselor are responsible for, and many of them will be looking to coming into the College of the Desert in terms of their post-secondary options. The other thing is that my affiliation with the college has been, where back in 1970, then Coach Frank Garcia asked about participating in what later became EOPS. And then Mr. Ed Moranti, a former teacher here, asked me about participating with Upward Bound. So the point being is that I've made a long storied commitment to the college as a graduate with the opportunity to go into becoming a city manager trainee in the city of Coachella, who then Carlos Ortega took my place and became a better, I guess maybe more prepared individual when he came out here to Palm Desert. So there's a long history here. I was asked to serve on the Alumni Association. This is my second time doing it. I value the association to the point where Pathways to Success and the Alumni Association has joined forces to be able to commit $250,000 for the program that the students here were talking about. There's a lot of things that the association has done over the years, and through, as you can see here, all the things that are listed here that we've done over a period of 30 years, we have made a collective commitment to try to provide assistance in many ways. And Trustee Becky Broughton and I have served on the East Valley Alumni Committee. We helped to raise the passage of the attention for the passage of the bond that built some of the buildings here as well as East Valley. So I respect and appreciate everybody's participation and involvement, but I think what bottom line here is that it comes down to understanding the association has a lot to offer, and we would appreciate that opportunity to continue. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, John Soulier.
Good morning, members, board members, directors, staff. My name is John Solier. I'm the current chairman of the Alumni Association Board. 30 years ago, this college formed an Alumni Association as a distinct and separate California corporation under a 501c3. Actually, it was in 1985 that they got their designation. Your predecessors did that for a reason. They felt somehow that arm's length was a model that would facilitate greater growth of the venue and the marketplace that has emerged over these last 30 years. We went from a farmer's market to a swap meet to an enterprise, the street fair, that is now very successful. I'm not saying that this is the best model. It may be that an auxiliary model somehow could work better. My problem and our board's problem is that we don't know. We have not had time to sit down, eye to eye, mutual respect with the administration, and work through these questions line by line to determine if the model would be a better way to go for all parties, including the Merchants Association, including the staff of the school that we provide funds for faculty enrichment. It's not just scholarships. There's more to student education than scholarships. The things we do on the campus other than that make the whole experience richer. My problem is, in reading Mr. Kinnaman's report that he gave, the next few weeks is impossible. Even to bring this item at this time of year during peak season shows that there may be a lack of understanding about the complexity of this marketplace that the Alumni Association and its board fully understand. I would ask that the Board of Trustees direct staff to put the brakes on this train, to move that discussions would begin during the close of the season in about May, so that we can work through the summer to an amicable solution that would work for all parties. It concerns me also that the model would say that the administration would bring forward a plan to dedicate funds of the street fair to student support at the College of the Desert. We have 2 board members on the Alumni Association board, which are representatives from the college. We have never said no to a single request to move money towards special projects for the college. I'm sure that we can reach a mutual agreement. I think that we need to make sure that the rhetoric is stopped. There are no threats against our lease, our site lease, our building lease, or disbandment of this board, that we can sit eye to eye in mutual respect and come to some sort of conclusion that works for everyone. This marketplace is so much more complex than I believe this administration would understand, because they aren't experiencing it on a day-to-day level. And we think this needs to be taken into consideration, serious consideration. If our board did not resist this urgency, we would be irresponsible as stewards of this corporation. And this is why we're here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Thiessen, please. Craig Thiessen. And I again apologize for mispronouncing the name. Okay.
My name is Greg Thiessen. I've been a vendor here for 22 years now. Basically, everything I wanted to say has been covered except for a couple of points. I'm very worried about the college taking over that. As you can see behind me, the amount of vendors that have showed up today to support the Alumni Association. We don't need a change. It ain't broke. We don't need to fix it. It's running as smooth as it possibly can at this point. Like John said, we've had some ups, we've had some downs, but right now I don't think you're looking at 10 to 12 volunteers between the vendor board and the alumni board, that this is 2 groups working together that you won't have if the college takes over. These people spend a lot of time working together, working problems out that, like I said, you won't get if the college ends up taking this over. We're all very concerned about the possibility of rate increases, which just something as small as $100 could put several dozen vendors out of business. This street fair supports several thousand people. When you figure vendors, their spouses, the people that work for them, I mean, it goes further down the line than that. So, we're very passionate about this street fair, as is the volunteers. We all spend a lot of time with the vendor board and with the Alumni Association, a lot of hours that we're not reimbursed for, to make sure that this street fair runs and runs properly. So we just don't feel that anything really needs to be done at this point, that the college needs to take this over. I think you two boards should work together, make nice, get a new long-term lease figured out, let the people that are passionate about it handle it. I do agree with the doctor that probably some oversight might be welcome with the monies. I think that's something we haven't had in the past. It's probably a good idea. But that's basically about it. Thank you for the time you give me to speak.
Thank you. And Jim Matthews. Oh, you're not speaking on this. Okay. So that concludes this part. At this time, if we could have Jim Matthews come. You don't want to speak? This is public comments. Was there an agenda item you wanted to be referred to?
Pardon me?
Was there an agenda item, or is it a public comment?
Public comment.
Public comment, okay. This will be appropriate time.
Good morning. My name is Jim Matthews. I'm faculty at College of the Desert. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. I'd like to make some comments regarding the address to this body by President Kinnaman, with a focus on the address in which he told a legend that he cited incorrectly, by the way, as being a Cherokee legend, and the portion immediately preceding the telling of this so-called legend. Prior to the telling of the legend, President Kinnaman clearly implied, in my opinion, that there are certain individuals on this campus, relative to the views of the administration, that have dissenting opinions. The implication was that these individuals represent a minority view. Then came the telling of the legend about the good wolf and the bad wolf. When I first heard about the telling of this legend by President Kinnaman and the comment he made following it, I assumed that the person relating the story to me was vastly exaggerating. I could not imagine that a president of an educational institution in this country could possibly give a public address that so clearly promotes intolerance of those who have a dissenting view. However, at a later date, I watched the video with my own eyes that verified that our president did exactly that. I certainly hope that this promotion of intolerance was not hidden from this board by the thin veil of the legend itself. It seems apparent, to me at least, that the president was trying to convince this board that those people with dissenting views are the bad wolves, and that they have malice in their hearts, and that they should therefore be ignored, marginalized, and, quote, not worked with. I hope that this board is aware of the fact that the faculty on this campus are professionals who do what they do for one primary reason: to help ensure that students have an educational experience that is of high quality and high value. I hope that this board is aware of the fact that when faculty have dissenting views relative to that of the administration, this is virtually always the result of decisions, choices, and actions taken by the administration that the faculty believe compromise the quality and value of the educational experience students will have at this college. There is no malice in the hearts of faculty on this campus. The implication that there is not only offensive, but is patently absurd. There is most definitely a problem with governance right now of this college. The problem is not with the dissenting views of the people in the, quote, lower ranks. The problem is with the governance style of those in the higher ranks, which to me at least seem to be approaching McCarthyism. A governance style that, as far as I can tell, this board has not only supported, but has encouraged. I opened this address with the phrase, "I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today." I would like to rephrase this, because speaking here today is not an opportunity, it's a right. So let me say now that I appreciate the right to speak here today. What I do not appreciate, what in fact I resent, is the fact that this board has permitted a situation to develop that makes me feel that it is necessary for me to come and speak out for the first time in my 18 years at this college. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could have, excuse me. Excuse me, if we could have John Fernald, please come to the podium, and I apologize.
Good morning, everybody. My name is John Fernald, and I'll actually be ceding my 3 minutes to my colleague, Karen Tabor, faculty member from the math department.
All right, thank you. Karen?
Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Karen Tabor. I'm a full-time professor. I have worked at the college for 23 years. During my academic years of 95-96, I regularly gave reports to the board as Academic Senate President. Today, I want to explore President Kinnaman's assertion to the board on February 11th that administration honors shared governance. The newest effort at realignment contradicts this claim. Although the college community now has given the opportunity to have a dialogue about the draft proposal, there was never input through full Senate, the deans and their schools, or CPC. Instead, the proposal was presented to CPC after the discussions and the creation had already taken place behind closed doors by administrators that have little historical perspective of the college. In addition, reorganization continues behind the scenes in other areas without even opportunity to dialogue. Administrators recently met with our academic center staff to inform them of the reorganization that will be implemented fall 2015. This reorganization includes 1, replacing full-time faculty coordinator ASC with a classified assistant director needing no more than a bachelor's degree. 2nd, replacing 3 adjunct faculty assistant tutor coordinators with classified staff. And 3, replacing 5 adjunct faculty lab liaisons with classified staff. These jobs require knowledge of teaching, learning, and subject expertise at the college level, which means having at least a master's degree. Without these credentials, these staff cannot adequately train tutors and work with teaching faculty to create curriculum. Also, in small centers like Mecca, there are trained backup adjunct on call to fill in when needed. This has worked well in the past. Contractually, this same model cannot be used if replaced with classified. Further, COD is a Hispanic Serving Institute, but must apply for HSI eligibility each year in order to be eligible for HSI grants. The application takes a couple of hours to complete. For the last 2 years, administrators in charge of grants have unilaterally chosen not to apply with no explanation to the college community. Thank you. We do currently have 2 Title V grants, but they will soon run out, so our hands are tied. A matter of fact, last year, the director of MESA wrote a collaborative grant with Imperial Valley College and NASA, but was informed after the fact we weren't eligible. He had planned to submit a STEM grant this year, but once again, we're not eligible. Lastly, in regards to the story related at the February meeting, the president said, quote, I will continue with my colleagues. I will continue to work with my colleagues that feed the latter, good wolf, and doing the best for students of this district. And I am sure the board and administration will continue to do the same. These statements have led many to ask, 1, how does the president decide who in our college community is a good wolf or bad wolf? 2nd, rather than labeling employees, shouldn't the president's obligation be to try to work with all staff no matter their moral fiber? And 3rd, should the president also be encouraging board and administration to also judge and isolate according to good and bad. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to address the board. If you have queries, then I will be glad to supply you with all documentation. I have documentation on everything that I've talked about today to back my claims. And I hope each of you will take the time to further investigate. Each of you board members will take further opportunity to investigate by asking other college community members about these facts.
At this time, Kelly Hall.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kelly Hall, and I am a professor at this college. I teach business and accounting. I'm here today to advocate for the cross-country program that benefits many of our student athletes. I ran the LA Marathon to celebrate my 40th birthday. It took me almost 5 hours to complete my first marathon. Can you imagine running for 5 hours? I trained for 6 months. I made a training schedule. I kept it on my refrigerator. I logged over 800 miles. That's almost to San Francisco and back. I had some big challenges in the years after my first marathon. I decided to get a PhD. And there were a lot of times during that experience when I wondered if I had what it took to complete that. Dissertations are really hard. But whenever I would meet those challenges, I told myself, I ran a marathon. I could do this. I ran a marathon. Distance athletes will tell you that after mile 15 or 20, it isn't about physical fitness anymore. It's about mental toughness. It's about discipline. It's about keeping going even when it isn't fun. It's about believing that you can do something that seems absolutely impossible when you first contemplate it. It's about trying day after day after day when it's fun and easy and when it is not. Angela Duckworth was a teacher who observed that most successful students in her class were not necessarily the most talented or smartest. Year after year, Mrs. Duckworth observed that her most successful students were those that displayed discipline, tenacity, a willing to fail and get back up. And she called these behaviors grit. You can Google TED Talk grit and see an amazing talk by Miss Duckworth. Right? She was so fascinated by her observation, she left teaching to do some research. And her research examines grit as a predictor of success in school children and beyond into the boardroom. And she has found conclusive evidence that grit is a very strong predictor of success. Cross country is about much more than running. It's about developing students and helping them cultivate the grit that is a proven predictor of success in the classroom and in the boardroom. I hope you will give this program a chance. I've seen the difference it can make in my own life and in the lives of my students. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa Ramon.
Yes, good morning. My name is Teresa Ramon, and I've got grit. I'm here to address the board members because I've been told that the cross-country team, the program may be suspended, terminated, removed, and I want you to hear about my experience at 52 years old. I'm now 62. So this letter is an appeal to the COD board members, decision makers, and policy makers not to end, terminate, discontinue, disallow, or remove the COD cross-country program. There are several reasons why the cross-country program must continue. First, the cross-country program allows students opportunities to develop and experience many challenging moments during training and competitions. The challenging moments begin immediately as runners begin to discover themselves and question, can I do this? The answer is yes, you can. Yes, I can, which corresponds to the COD model of you can. Second, cross-country is a sport where men and women have opportunities to trade together as a team. Third, as Nelson Mandela so eloquently stated, running taught me valuable lessons. In cross-country competition, training counted more than intrinsic ability, and I could compensate for the lack of my natural aptitude with diligence and discipline. I applied this in everything I did. The challenging moments turned into valuable lessons in everything. The challenging moments continued in my life when in February 2004 I retired from the Los Angeles Police Department with a combined total of 26 years, 4 months, and 12 days as a law enforcement officer. In September 2004, I enrolled at the College of the Desert. As I strolled across the campus one day, I came across a flyer that asked, "Are you interested in cross-country running?" I had some experience in running as a cop, but I was 52 years old. What coach in their right mind would want a 52-year-old woman running on their team? But I called the number on the flyer. After some brief questions, I was invited to work out and encouraged to sign up. The truth was that I missed the camaraderie that I had grown accustomed to in the police department. I followed direction, completed paperwork, and started on one incredible journey as a member of the COD cross-country team. I got to run with 17 and 18-year-olds, and I was never the first, but I was never the last to finish. The training was intense and extremely challenging. Most importantly, I developed friendships with the younger students, the coaches, and was feeling part of. That feeling of part of translated into every time I ran at the race, I would feel butterflies in my stomach. And this was worse than going to a bank robbery when I was working. I had to tell myself, yes, I can, or as Cesar Chavez would say, si se puede. I thought that after my law enforcement career, there would be few opportunities for challenging moments, but at my age, I had the opportunity to learn about myself. I learned that there were going to be many opportunities for lessons to be learned. The lessons to be learned transformed into a reconnection with running that for me was a connection with my spirit. So I ask you today to please consider what you're doing, to consider that running is an awesome thing. It really builds that grit that lady talked about. So I've got some letters I didn't get to finish, but I'll pass them out. Thank you.
Thank you. Be very careful. Joel, if you want me to. Yeah, I'll give one to Joel. Erie Jimenez? Irene.
I'll just say it right here.
I'm sorry, please say your name.
Don't worry. My name is Irene Jimenez, like I remember.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning, Board of Trustees and guests. I come from a family of runners. Both my parents were short distance runners, and my older sister ran varsity track for the undefeated La Quinta High School girls track and field team. Since middle school, I was recognized and known as a long-distance runner, and from then on, that was all I did. Before I went to La Quinta High School, I did not know when cross-country actually started, so I waited till the school year began. Little did I know, the team had been training all summer long, and their first meet was that Wednesday. Therefore, me not being competition ready for the season, I did not join the team. Instead, I did varsity water polo and swimming, but still had hopes that I could run for the upcoming year. The summer going into my sophomore year, I went to practices with the team. I distinctly remember thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Remember, I had no previous coaching and never ran a cross-country race in my life. Over time, I was able to endure long and Africa hot practices and was ready for competition. The first meet of the season determines the top 7, which is known as varsity. Although I had an average time, I was able to make varsity and stay in the number 4th spot throughout the season and after CIF prelims. Unfortunately, in the 2012 cross-country season, I was unable to run due to the fact that I had shin splints from the previous season. Shin splints is also known as medial tibialis stress syndrome, are either lower leg pain that occurs below the knee and on the front outside part of the leg, known as anterior shin splints, or on the inside of the leg, medial shin splints. They are found in many athletes, runners, tennis players, and even dancers. They are often found in beginning runners who do not build their mileage gradually enough, which is what I did. I was such an excruciating pain. It was a point to where I would get teary-eyed walking to my classes. I was hesitant, but ended up telling my coach, Joanne Monticello-Prawl, the now retired coach of La Quinta High School cross-country team, that I could not run. That was the last thing I wanted to do. I did not want to disappoint my coach or my team. I came back to the 2013 cross-country season. Although I was injured, I had gained knowledge and strength in my legs and to watch my running technique. I trained all summer with the girls, and not only did I have a personal best time of 19 minutes flat, but I was also part of a history-making team. We won our DVL title back from Xavier, and we made history going to CIF finals as a team. Not only has cross-country helped me become a better runner, it has helped me overcome injuries and form inseparable bonds of friendship with the team. Now this cross-country program is my only chance to be able to compete in the collegiate level and receive a scholarship from universities. I have also enclosed articles showcasing my success as a high school runner and the team that I have previously come from. Thank you.
Thank you. And Wendy Ansley.
Good morning, Board of Trustees and guests. My name is Wendy Ansley, and I am a full-time kinesiology professor and our department chair. I'd like to add, when Irie was 6 months old, her parents took my tennis class years ago. And they still remember me, and my husband is the track and field coach at La Quinta High School, and when I saw them in Chipotle, I wanted to say I would advocate for Irie to have the chance to run. There's 3 girls in the audience that could run in the state championships. They're that talented. Just wanted you guys to know that. I was recently on the committee to hire a new cross-country coach. I enjoyed reviewing the applications and believed we would hire somebody who could turn the cross-country program around into a competitive and powerful opportunity for our students, and particularly our Hispanic students. It was brought to my attention February 20th that we would be suspending our cross-country program. I coached community college cross-country for 13 years, and 12 years at College of the Desert. I'd like to talk about the program. It definitely had some longevity and history to it. In the past, College of the Desert had a program that had strong numbers, student athletes with high GPAs, and a large Hispanic following. We often had the biggest teams in the state of California. I would comb our kinesiology activity classes. I would recruit at the high school DVL championships, and I would recruit at the DVL track and field championships. All of our athletes were recruited locally and came from lower socioeconomic status, often first-generation Hispanics, to attend college. We won the conference championships a number of times. We qualified for the Southern California regionals every year, and we took over 100 athletes to the state championships. It was our past experiences that cross-country was more than a team. We were a community. We supported and cared for each other. We have 4 adjunct professors that teach at College of the Desert currently that were on teams. We had 3 couples that later married after graduating from college. Terry Ramon, who gave the speech earlier, was our outstanding alumni of the year. We had 2 students that went on to medical school, law school, nurses, police officers, physical therapists, teachers, firefighters, many more great careers. These athletes, the majority of them, chose to stay and live in our community. Running can both be an emotionally and physically empowering sport, and this team provided our students with an opportunity to become involved in our college, improve motivation to continue their studies. It is my goal to find another motivated and passionate coach to provide this opportunity for the students. I would love to volunteer my services to help the new coach and bring past community members to train. Julissa, I'll take 1 more minute. If you have the chance to see the movie McFarland by Disney, I think you will find some similarities to our students, particularly the east end of the valley, the Hispanics who often excel in cross country. As the motto of you can at COD exists. Please support and encourage our cross-country program to continue and not be canceled or suspended. I believe with a passionate, caring, and knowledgeable coach, we will generate positive interest from the students and to continue to give back to our community. And I invite any board members who would like to discuss this with me in the future to come by my office. I've got hundreds of pictures of former athletes on my walls, and I love to tell you their stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Julissa Jimenez, and I believe she asked you to give her 30 seconds is what she actually used. Okay? We'll allow you to go over.
Mine's short anyway, so it's okay. Hello, good morning. My name is Julissa Jimenez, and I am a senior at Cathedral City High School. I have ran cross country for 3 years, and it has made my high school experience very enjoyable. It has helped shape me into the person I am today, a leader, a dedicated person, and an optimistic person. I plan to attend College of the Desert in the fall, and I have the desire to run for the COD cross-country team. I was very disappointed to hear that the cross-country team is suspended, as I and a group of 4 other teammates had plans to come and compete here at a collegiate level. Thank you for your time, and I hope I have the opportunity to run next fall.
Okay, this concludes public comments. Introduction of new full-time staff.
Is Mr. Nakamura in the audience, Tim? I'd like to join with me in welcoming Tim Nakamura, our new Director of Security and Emergency Preparedness.
Very nice to meet you, and I hope I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve this college as your Director of Public Safety and Security.
I don't think you get off that easy.
Oh,
Sit down and
okay.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
I thought I could get away with it, but I guess not. Just to recap on the email that I had sent out, I started going to College of the Desert at age 11 during a Japanese language program that was held here at the college. Actually went to Language Arts 13, that classroom. I looked at it just recently. I remember it being a lot bigger, but as an adult, it definitely looks smaller. But I came here at age 11. I continued to go throughout Japanese school until I graduated from Ponderosa High School. At that time, I came here, and I matriculated here. I graduated from here in 2000 with a Associate's in Liberal Arts before parlaying that experience into undergraduate school and graduate school finally. So again, this institution's always been a part of my life, and I thank you for the opportunity to kind of come full circle. I'm open to any kind of concerns or issues you may have regarding public safety or emergency preparedness, and again, I'm always open and willing to see what we could do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and welcome to the team, as my fellow board members said. At this time, we'll go into the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes of the regular meeting of February 11th, 2015?
I need to have a little open discussion here, public discussion. I have emailed, and Angela and I have talked back and forth about some small changes. I'm so loud. Usually people complain, not say, hey, you need the microphone. Angela and I have communicated via email with some changes to the minutes, but for the most part, they were minor typos and grammatical changes, where when you're typing from listening to something, you leave out an article or you type it without an apostrophe. So most of my changes were there. I did make 2 changes, which were not actually substantial, but they simply restated what it was that I was trying to say in my comments. I clarified the part about my thank you to Angela for her good minutes, because they're very thorough, and I like it that she catches the spirit of the meeting. So I thanked her for that. And I took the liberty of thinking for Trustee O'Neill, since he was somewhere else at the moment, where he was thanking a person that had been kind enough to diligently serve the college and the community through the oversight board, the bond oversight board. And I simply suggested there that we thank him and do mention that he did give us 5 years of dedicated service and how much we appreciate it. So I believe those were basically the changes that I made. So I'm not sure that if we need, looking at our parliamentarian, do I need?
They're noted.
Is that, they're noted? Okay,
They're noted.
great. So again, they were not substantial changes. They were simply clarifying what we had said, because although Angela makes very good minutes, she can't read our mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are seeing no further corrections or additions, they stand approved as corrected. At this time, we're supposed to go into reports. We have exactly 5 minutes. So I notice there's quite a few people in the audience, and I'm going to take a wild stab at this. I'm going to say Faculty Association. I believe some of these people are waiting for you to give your report, so I'll let you go first. At this time? Mm-hmm. We'll have enough time probably for one, so I'm assuming it's you.
And I'm sorry I could not get these to you on Wednesday as requested, Dr. Stefan. I was in a training session.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I have included in this report a flyer for the April 23rd Mental Health Fair to be held at College of the Desert. It is a collaborative effort between adjunct faculty Jay Lowenstein's students and Active Minds Club, of which I am one of the faculty co-sponsors, to bring awareness and education to mental health issues. The members of the board are most welcome. The role of, and we absolutely appreciate Trustee Campbell's involvement and support in this. She came to one of the meetings and has unequivocally offered the support of the Student Association for this important event to bring awareness and education. Thank you so much, Trustee. The role of the President of the Faculty Association is to represent the 106 faculty in matters concerning collective bargaining agreement, wages, and working conditions. We report the facts and the process to the Board of Trustees, and it is not the same information the Board receives from the administration. We have monthly meetings. At last Tuesday's meeting, 1/4 of the tenured faculty attended. In the President's February 11th report, he stated that there are processes for the academic calendar and hiring practices. The process for the academic calendar has become confused and delayed by 5 months. Why have 2 calendars been pulled from the board agenda? The board has been told that collective bargaining on the calendar did not result in what the district wanted on the calendar, and that is correct. The Faculty Association did not approve 8 flex days, which the VP of Instruction presented, and which would have violated the collective bargaining agreement. The association does not support the academic calendar being used to resolve administration issues of FTES, nor does it approve the inappropriate push for professional development dollars in this forum.
The principles and practices of creating the academic calendar require transparency, communication, and advanced planning. This is not what happened. Hiring practices. There is no subcommittee of the College Planning Council for hiring practices. Last semester, David Bayshore, Doug Redman, and I met with HR to express our concerns and to give our support in getting additional training, as the HR office was then and continues to be now understaffed. Ideas were taken to the executive cabinet. Nothing further happened. We had 3 separate hiring committees for deans. What are the results? The 9 full-time faculty hiring committees have been formed. The calendar for the meetings is attached to your report. The Faculty Association has a second request to HR for the list of the EEO officers and their assigned committees as required to ensure a transparent process. How will adjuncts be treated in this hiring process? Well, we saw what happened with the temporary full-time positions. Although Title V makes a very clear distinction about temporary full-time positions and adjunct positions, the message that was communicated was one of concern for how adjuncts are scheduled and filling the schedule, rather than the rights of the adjuncts to apply without restrictions for temporary full-time positions. The publications where the college placed ads clearly stated temporary full-time, spring and fall 2015. I will speak up again. Why are 3 adjuncts, 2 in English and 1 in math, only given 1 semester position? Grievances. The association has filed a grievance and an appeal related to class size. The contract states that the faculty will be consulted about additional students in their courses. The mediation settlement on this very issue stated that the contract should be followed. There is a process here. The Faculty Association has followed it. Is the district going to abide by the contract and mediated agreements? And lastly, Faculty of College of the Desert, would you please come forward? We are the Faculty of College of the Desert. We are the boots on the ground, the face of the instruction, the advocates first and foremost of education and curriculum. We are not good wolves and bad wolves. We are unique, diverse faculty, and our #1 focus is teaching. Our voices matter. Shared governance, AB 1725 matters, and so does collective bargaining. Thank you.
Thank you. And that puts us about 1 minute behind in taking a recess to closed session. We will reconvene at 1:30. Thank you. You're going to get all my little bells and whistles. Okay, we're going to reconvene to open session. And this time, unfortunately, I have a lot to report out. First off, the governing board in closed session voted to issue a notice of rejection of claim pursuant to Government Code Section 913. Those who voted aye were Trustee Broughton, Trustee O'Neill, and Trustee Steffen. There were no nay votes, and there were no abstentions. In closed session, a motion was made by Trustee Broughton, seconded by Trustee O'Neill, to authorize President Kinnaman to enter into an employment agreement to appoint Jason Arabalos as the Director of Maintenance and Operations with a projected effective date of April 27th, 2015. The placement is at range 9, step 3 of the leadership salary schedule. It was approved unanimously, and 3 votes in favor, 0 votes opposed, and 0 abstentions. In closed session, a motion was made by Trustee O'Neill and seconded by trustee Broughton to authorize President Kinnaman to enter into an employment agreement to appoint Tim Nakamura as Director of Security and Emergency Preparedness with an effective date of March 2nd, 2015. The placement is at range 8, step 5 of the leadership salary schedule. That's why I kept that here. There were 3 votes in favor, 0 votes opposed, and 0 abstaining. In closed session, a motion was made by trustee Broughton and seconded by trustee O'Neill to authorize President Kinnaman to enter into an employment agreement to appoint Scott Cooper as the Dean of Student Success and Student Learning with an effective date of March 2nd, 2015. The placement is at step 9, or range 9, step 8 of the leadership salary schedule. And there were 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstaining. In closed session, a motion was made by trustee O'Neill and seconded by trustee Broughton to accept the resignation of Dr. James Berg, Dean of School of Arts and Sciences, effective July 31st, 2015, and reassign him to a faculty position for the fall semester 2015 after following ed code process and determination of minimum qualifications. It's going to be ridiculous here. Those who voted, there were 3 votes in favor and 0 votes opposed and no abstentions. In closed session, a motion was made by trustee Broughton, seconded by trustee O'Neill, to authorize President Kinnaman to enter into an employment agreement to appoint Cody McCabe as Director of International Education with an effective date of April 13th, 2015. The placement range is 7, step 3 on the leadership schedule, and there were 3 votes in favor and 0 votes opposed and no abstentions. In closed session, a motion was made by trustee O'Neill, seconded by trustee Broughton, to authorize President Kinnaman to enter into an employment agreement to appoint Diane Worth as the interim vice president of human resources with a projected effective date of June 1, 2015, ending no later than July 30th, 2016. The placement of the vice president is range 14, step 9. There were 3 votes in favor and 0 votes opposed and no abstentions. And that concludes what we did in closed session. At this time, we would like to have the ASCOD report, the Associate Student COD, and I believe John is absent, so we will be hearing from trustee Campbell.
John was here earlier this morning, but he had to leave. So, first, ASCOD is in the process of revising their bylaws. Second, ASCOD is planning the Student Senate election process for this year. Third is ASCOD is in the process of planning the 3rd annual ASCOD COD Talent Show, and we'll send out invitations for you guys. ASCOD is also working on the Interclub Council to plan an end-of-the-year event. ASCOD is reviewing the Strategic Master Plan as well. ASCOD had the opportunity to attend a faculty and staff workshop regarding the AB 540 students hosted, which were Alas con Futuro, which is a chartered club here on campus, and they did a fantastic job. And lastly, ASCOD is concerned about the academic calendar as it affects students in regards to financial aid, registering for classes, and much more. We are waiting on the approval of the academic calendar. And that concludes ASCOD's report.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go to the Academic Senate. Douglas Redmond, please.
Good afternoon. There's a high level of tension and mistrust at the college. Over the past year, this has progressively gotten worse. Faculty are not the problem. We aren't perfect. There's room for us to do better. We do sometimes cause problems, but we aren't the root cause of the high level of tension and mistrust. What's changed over the past year or so? Not the faculty. The faculty are a constant from which to measure other variables. Faculty are listening, faculty are communicating, faculty are participating, faculty are getting things done. I put together and distributed a climate survey in order to better determine what faculty are thinking and to be able to better report to you. The results are rather compelling. I won't get into all the different questions, but encourage you to look at those and make your decisions. To me, the most informative question was the open call for comments. The question was this: here's your chance to expand on your answers or add additional comments. Feel free to address concerns that have not been mentioned in this survey. There were 68 responses, and of that, 83% approximately expressed some level of concern with executive administration. Some of those were minor concerns and some of those were large concerns. Approximately 17% supported or shared that they thought the survey was biased. It's interesting because there's been a lot of discussion about the 17% and not the 83%. I took a closer look at those 12 comments that were supportive of executive administration and the survey, and approximately 3 or 4 of them certainly supported executive administration and gave a couple reasons why. The remainder of those simply commented that they did not like the survey. No one here appreciates the tension and mistrust. No one in this room. I believe that. Each party has a responsibility to work towards improving communication, including faculty. But in reflecting on what the majority of the faculty have told me, the majority of the work needs to take place with executive administration. Faculty need honest, transparent, and clear communication. While this has happened at times over the past year, it has not happened nearly enough. I remain optimistic. Faculty stand ready if the executive administration chooses to engage us in an honest, transparent, and clear way. We can turn this around. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. College of the Desert Adjunct Association, CODA, David Bayshore.
Happy first day of spring.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, you can tell by looking I'm not a marathon runner. But I did appreciate hearing those stories this morning, and I hope you did as well. They were very informative, they were very inspirational, and I hope you realize the courage that it took for those people to come up here and face you. You can be a scary bunch at times, but you could tell that what they were saying was heartfelt. And so I just wanted to make some comments about that. I gave you my written report, and I'm not going to read it to you. Thank you for giving me the 90 minutes to write another report, which is in addition to the one that I submitted. So first of all, I think Denise Diamond has left already, but I wanted to thank her very much, not only for her comments, but for her support of adjuncts in general, which she has been a big supporter of ours ever since she became president of the Faculty Association. And I just want to echo the comments that she made about some of the practices that we're very concerned about. But what I wrote while you were in closed session was, after this morning's outpouring of concerns from several members of the community that we serve, I hope you will make a serious effort to reflect not only on what has been said, but why it was necessary to bring these concerns to your attention. No one wants a board of any kind to micromanage the work of the people they hire. However, When it is necessary for the community to, in essence, protest the way that business is being conducted, then the board needs to sit up and pay attention. Over the past academic year, several serious concerns have been brought to your attention. These were issues that should have been handled at a more appropriate level and never even have reached this body. The fact that they did should tell you that something is very wrong. So now what are you going to do about it? Several people have offered to provide you with more detailed information to support their claims. Several have asked you for the opportunity to speak with them about their concerns. I urge you to do so. For over 3 years now, I have bringing adjunct concerns to your attention, but, and meaning absolutely no disrespect, sometimes I feel like I'm talking to a tree. The fact that you say that you can't comment on our reports makes it impossible for me to know if I'm getting through to you. And it also appears when you say that it isn't clear when you say that if you are actually restricted from commenting by law, or if it's just your desire not to comment, or heaven forbid some lawyer told you not to, because I hope the lawyers never run this college. But anyway, that never stopped John Marmon. While you all listen politely and thank me for my comments, I never know what you think about them. Do you agree, disagree, have concerns, or even care? I would like to challenge this board to create a forum of some kind where all of you can actually engage in a real dialogue with faculty, classified staff, students, and the community. If not in person, which would be ideal, perhaps you could solicit written questions and provide responses at your monthly board meetings. Anything that would open up the channels of communication would be better than the status quo. It borders on cliché to say that the problem is communication. But in the absence of information, assumptions are made, and all too often these assumptions are erroneous, based on suspicion and lack of trust. My recommendation to you is that these two issues, communication and trust, should become the guiding principles of the future of College of the Desert. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have copies for everybody.
And California School Employees Association, CSCA, Laurel Jimenez.
I have to make sure I say good afternoon instead of as written good morning. Thank you. And then there I go. I start reading. Good afternoon to our trustees, administration, faculty, staff, students, and esteemed guests. Tentative agreements. On Friday, March 13th, CSCA Chapter 407 ratified tentative agreements which are included in today's agenda for your approval. A significant number of classified bargaining unit members attended our ratification meeting, such that we'll need to consider a larger venue for next time. Members listened carefully, asked thoughtful questions, and participated in the secret ballot. Your approval today is the final step in a process that began about a year ago with our initial proposal before the board. As chapter president and chief negotiator for our chapter, my goal has been to keep our chapter well informed of the challenges and opportunities of this past year's negotiations. As I have reported to you in past months, the chapter has grown in unity and strength and provided clear direction to our negotiations team. As you saw this morning, many members took time from their 15-minute morning break period to attend the opening of today's board meeting. Our chapter strongly supports our efforts and the results. We are proud to present for ratification to our chapter and to this board for approval the tentative agreements that represent the final form the result of respectful compromise between the parties. You have listened to our concerns through this year, considered the complaints from PERB, and effectively investigated the merits. Ultimately, it is your leadership that has led to today. Together, we thank each of you as trustees, including those not present, for your direction to administration to negotiate with our unit with fairness and respect. Classified job descriptions. Also in today's agenda is an item to rescind the board approval of 2 classified job descriptions, and I thank the administration for this initial corrective action. These job descriptions were presented to the board for approval last summer without negotiation with CSEA and consequently without ratification of our chapter. As CSEA had previously demanded to bargain reorganization, these new job descriptions, as well as modifications of existing ones, must be negotiated just as any other part of our collective bargaining agreement. CSEA respectfully requests that these job descriptions be rescinded, thereby allowing us to negotiate levels of compensation, duties, education, and experience. A good example is one of those positions is for our EVC location, and one of the things that was a concern for us is to make sure that there was support for the Spanish-speaking community, and that support would be adequately compensated. So those are things that we very much are willing to and would like to make sure that these positions, the goal basically is to work collaboratively with the district to develop job descriptions that do empower classified staff to succeed, that fairly compensate them for their skills and talents so that we can invest in them in time, energy, and training, and ultimately retain them as staff. No staff members have been hired in either position, for your information, so thank you for that. Employees, the next item for your consideration is in terms of the supplemental retirement program. Employees eligible for the latest iteration of this have submitted their intent to participate. When this board agenda was posted, the information item created some concern and confusion, as we were all eager to know if administration intended to recommend approval of this SRP to the board. I'm thankful that the SRP is before you not as an action item, but as an item in information, because with this latest update, that would give me the opportunity to be able to go back to my constituents and then in my next report be able to report to you how they are directing me. Again, I want to thank each of you as our Board of Trustees. At the same time, I believe that for all of us, for our unit and for trustees, this is a time of challenge and opportunity, a time to truly be thoughtful of the things that are going on. But again, we do appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, that wasn't nice. COD Foundation. I don't see anybody from the foundation here. They were here earlier. And I hope there is something that they've sent us. Okay, at this time, Governing Board. We'll start with Student Trustee Campbell. Would you like to go last, did you say? Or is this okay for you now?
This is fine.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to start by saying congratulations to Brenda Valdez. She's going to be receiving an award today, and she's not here right now, but she'll be back. Also, I'd like to say that as a COD student, I have also been staffed at the street fair, and so I am glad that they're here to express their concerns to us, and to thank them for being here today. So this past month, I attended the Food Service Committee, and I've attended the Green Council as well. I had the honor to attend the Alas con Futuro workshop on AB 540. I continue to meet with students during my office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Trustee Wilson and I met with an organization called Up With People. They fly from all over the world and just do community service and give all the funding to a local nonprofit organization. This year, they're going to be giving the profit to the Ophelia Project, and they're going to be having their performance this weekend at the Indio High School. And I'm also going to be helping out with the mental health fair along with Denise Diamond. And that does conclude my report.
Thank you very much. Trustee Broughton.
First, before Michael complains, I'll pull my microphone close. Yeah, that Michael, yes. Yes, that Michael, although you'll kick me if I don't. So, I would like to, I've attended a number of different meetings, and I'm pleased to say that I had a very successful and informative meeting with our assignments. I was assigned to learn more about student services, and I had 2 very interesting hours, but I'm pleased to say that that's part of our study session today, so that information will be available to all of us. Also, I have, as many of you have had, I'm sure, had an interesting month of emails. I don't know, from time to time, you know, we get an email that you look at and you go, oh, that's spam. I bet you that's spam. I'm not going to open it. So, but if it looks somewhat convincing, I'll shoot off a note to Glenn King and say, okay, Glenn, I got this, and it doesn't look good to me. So he'll either send me back a note that says, oh, yeah, it's okay, or, you know, thanks for catching it. That, you know, that probably, 400 other people have sent him this note, but he's always polite and responsive. So through this email conversation back and forth, he sent me a most interesting set of information. He was saying that he sent me a report from that day's emails. And it was he says, I hope you'll find this interesting. And I thought, okay, And I looked at it, and it was absolutely fascinating. If you ever wonder what happens with our IT and that lovely service that we take so for granted every day and every minute, during that day, the college had received 66,498 emails. Out of these emails, 57,975 were bad for some reason or other, which means that there were only 8,623 that were considered clean enough to get through. Now that's truly amazing. It lets you know how well our email is filtered, and yet they walk that fine line so that anything that's sent to you doesn't bounce back to the sender. So once more, I have a hats off and a thank you to our departments and to our staff in general at the college for their hard work, for their dedication, and how each person focuses and is truly involved with their job and doing the best that they can. But I send a special thank you to Glenn for amusing me on a day when I'm going, really? This looks like maybe it's true. But he did say, when you get that email that says we're just about to close your account because you have too much in it, to just hit that delete button, because he'll certainly let us know. And it won't have an extension that indicates it came from New Zealand. The other note that I'd like to speak to is, because of our emphasis on student services this time, is how we are changing our approach to incoming students, making that path easier, and that's part of our discussion today. But also from the other end, there's been a great discussion about what kind of assessments or placements a student should have as they come into our college. We're always being told that our students come and are not truly prepared. Although you have to question some of that because they have indeed spent those years at school. They're prepared for something. Obviously, it's not particularly college, okay? There is a new twist to this, and I know this because of my 11th grader. As you know, they've changed California STAR testing to more of a Common Core based test. So we're all going to be experimented upon this year. And one of the items is for an 11th grader has an option to check a bubble, and there's going to be a little part of that test that is supposed to help California colleges to place that student. So it's going to be interesting to see if this new information actually helps us or whether it's just more data. So I'm glad that people are reaching out, that they're looking. It'll be nice if it actually does help, and perhaps will help our faculty to do a better, to have an easier job. It'll be easier to place students where they belong, at the level they belong, so that they will be able to succeed. We all know that students that succeed continue to climb up and have success in education. So education's changing, and we're changing with it. So, and these little things that come along are interesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. My report's going to be a little different this month also. I am rather concerned that we approved 2 trustees to travel during a meeting time. If one of us had become ill today, we would not have had a meeting, and the business of the college would not have progressed. I'm also concerned that there was a lot of information shared today that our trustees have not had access to unless they view the tape, which Mike could edit everything out. But what I think we need to be careful in the future that we do not approve such times. I build my life every month around this meeting. I don't schedule anything else but this meeting, so I think we have to be careful about that. And related to that is an issue I've been bringing forward for about 4 years now. I see our new IT director is back there, so she'll be perfect for hear this. As far as I know, we are still not broadcasting in an Apple format. So even if our trustees wanted to view on their iPads this meeting while they're in New York, they couldn't do so. All of our constituencies who use Apple products can't view these meetings live streamed. And I have been asking to please move forward on this for 4 years. So I'm asking again today, especially in light of, I know Carlos has mentioned it, when he travels, he can't watch how good or bad we're being when he's gone. And our trustees not being able to participate, because there's a 3-hour time difference in New York. They could very easily be interrupting their cocktail hour now to watch this. So I think that's important. I also want to talk about some emails, but in a different light that Trustee Broughton did. We've had a lot of emails in the last month. A lot of them have been very informative. I'm concerned about some of the things I've read with regard to the issue regarding the SERP that's coming up later today for discussion. There seems to be some people who believe that this SERP is a diabolical plot to get rid of people. Let me assure you, and let me explain to you how this came about this time. After we did the SERP last year, I started being contacted by a variety of people with regrets that they had not taken the SERP, with concerns that their life had changed, family members became ill, their health was changed. I brought this to Dr. Kinnaman, who was getting the same type of contact, and not from the same individuals. We did not have an intention to issue another SERP this year. We are responding to a request from our staff, our employees, who felt that they wanted this. And yes, I know there's a concern about the brain trust and the history evaporating as people leave. And that was a concern. We never expected last year as many people to take the SERP as did. And we weren't prepared for that. We admit our failure. I think we're better prepared this year. But these people were going to leave, and some people are leaving or choose the SERP this time because their situation has changed. And if we did not offer it, we'd be penalizing them and making it more difficult for them to address their changing needs. So I want to put out that this is not a plot. We're not trying to get rid of people. We're trying to help people who brought to our attention their particular need. So I will give off my soapbox on that one now. I do want to congratulate the KCOD students and their advisor on their national recognition at the Broadcasting Conference in New York, international actually. I had hoped to attend because I was in New York at the time, and I was unable to coordinate to get into the event with my schedule, but I had hoped to be there. And I do want to congratulate them. I'm sure they had a wonderful time in New York City when they were there and learned, benefited greatly. While also in New York, many of you have heard me mention LaGuardia Community College before in relationship to our foundation and other things. It seems like LaGuardia is always in the news. And as I was being driven to the airport, I suddenly saw a sign that said LaGuardia Community College. And I was taken back because it was a hand-painted sign on a piece of wood. And I looked at the next building, and it said LaGuardia Community College, and it was another hand-painted sign on a piece of wood. And I started talking to the driver, and I said, "This is the LaGuardia." He said, "Oh, yeah, this is it." He said, and I said, "But it looks like we're in a warehouse district, a business district." He said, "You are." The community college developed, and it was a small thing, kept growing, growing, growing. It takes over 5 blocks of the city now, but it doesn't look anything like what you look at here. It's an amazing difference. And there were thousands of students, I've asked for a few more minutes, thousands of students walking to and from these buildings, one after another, look like warehouses and office buildings. And it dawned on me, and this is somewhat related to things that came up this morning, that it doesn't matter where education takes place. What you have to have is you have to have students who are interested in learning and faculty who want to teach, and you have to have support staff that are there to help. You have to have the administration to help provide the guidance that we need. Without all those elements, you don't have a college. With those elements, you have a college. You have an institution of learning. It does not have to look as beautiful as this campus does to be effective. And I think sometimes we all lose sight of that. And I think it's important that we realize that we are a team. We are working collaboratively to reach the same ultimate goal, which is to serve the communities that we represent. And with that, I will be quiet. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Trustee O'Neill. I'd like to start my report by wishing you a very happy International Day of Happiness. Nobody knew that existed, did they? You all thought I was going to say International House of Pancakes, I know, but that's okay. No, International Day of Happiness. And I thought it was particularly apropos for today because as I was listening to the reports today, it reminded me of this last month. My father turned 90. Big day for him. He has relatively good health. And when I tell you the story that happened earlier in the month, you'll all think, yeah, he has pretty good health. He's pretty with it. Because what happened was my brother was planning to come out. My dad didn't know my brother was really coming out for a surprise party. He didn't know that I was going to show up for the surprise party. He didn't know that my daughter was going to try to get out of the Washington, D.C. area in the deep, deep snow for the surprise party and get time off. You don't get time off from the military, so she was going to fly out late on a Thursday night and then fly back on a Saturday night and everything with her daughter, who's a little over 1, and her husband. And all of this was supposed to just magically happen, you know. We're all keeping our fingers crossed. Well, the beginning of the month started out February, and my father calls me and tells me that I woke up this morning and I couldn't see out of my right eye. And I'm going, oh gosh. Well, did you go to the doctor? Yeah, I got one of my old friends from the police force. My father's a retired police officer, to race me down to the Navy hospital because my dad also is a retired veteran. They looked at it and they gave me a shot in the eye. And it seems to be helping. And so we're still hopeful. About a week later, I get a call from my daughter in D.C., and she's telling me, Daddy, because my daughter, I left her dad when she was real little, so she's always called my dad Daddy. Daddy is in the hospital. Like, why aren't I doing something? I'm the closest one, I'm supposed to take care of him. So I'm, well, what's the number there, what, blah, 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 and so I get a hold of the Navy hospital, and my dad's, they connect me right off to his room. And the story is, my dad says, well, I woke up at 5 o'clock, I had a hard time sleeping, and I thought something was wrong. So I called 911. Well, for most of us, you call 911 and you wait 20 minutes. Okay? And my dad's on the phone with 911 telling him, he doesn't feel real good. He's almost 90 and, they better send an ambulance. But he's unlocked the front door. He's got it open a little bit. And he's standing back far enough so that if he falls over, the door won't close. They'll know what door to go in. And he's got telling them all of this stuff, giving them the whole big story of how to get into the house. And I'm on the phone thinking, my gosh, he's got everything figured out for these poor guys. And I said, well, how long did it take him to get there? He says, well, only a couple minutes. They only live on the street behind us. We live out in the country, so it's like a big street behind us. But when our animals got out, they always ended up at the fire station, so they know right where we live, And so they were there within 5 minutes, and they get him down to Navy Hospital, which is a long drive. And I guess he told them stories all the way there. Well, I get down to see him. He's already out of the hospital. The neighbors have all taken care of him. Everybody's taking care of him and all. My brother finally flies in. I come back home, and I'm trying to tend to things here so I can get back down there for his party. I get down there for the party. My daughter can't get a flight out because now it's major snowstorm back in D.C. She finally gets out to the party, and we pull the party off. And everybody's there, and everybody's telling stories about my dad. Well, guess what? They're the stories my brother and I and my daughter have heard 1,000 times. You know how dads are. They tell you the same story over and over and over and over and over again. Doesn't matter how many times you fight with your brother, you're going to get story number 225. So I would get, and I'm going to go over my time, and I'm going to apologize in advance. So story number 225 pops up. If you can. It's time for me to go home from my regular job. I apologize. So story number 225, my brother and I are kicking each other under the table, and I'm looking at him saying, don't start something, because we always used to get at it. And we're having a good time at the party, and my dad's telling his stories, and somebody says, gosh, he's so with it. And I look around the table. There are people that were his peers. There are people that he brought onto the police force and trained. There are people that later retired from the police force, these young guys, and then there's some young guys, and then there's the guys from the fire station that had taken him to the emergency room. And they're all telling the same stories. And I thought, this is family. This is what it's all about. We all know the same stories. We didn't always get along all the time. And yet, we can come together when it's some happy moment. And they all came together. I remember when my mom passed away, they were all there too. And they're there for each other when they need each other the most. And I thought, that's a wonderful thing. And I'm sitting there thinking, gosh, I got to get back because there's stuff to do with the college this week. And I thought, when I came on board as a board member to begin with, this college was family. This college is still a family. Because when things go wrong, if I take you back over the last year, you'll remember some really sad times we had, and we were all together on that. You remember some problems that we had. We were all together on that. You remember some happy times, graduations. We're always all together on those happy times, those celebrations. But we can fight like cats and dogs the rest of the time, just like my family does. And my family's really good at it because we're half Hungarian and we're half Irish. And the Irish can fight with themselves. I know my brother and I used to do it on St. Patrick's Day just to irritate my mom because she was the Irish part of the family. But the point I want to make is, no matter what happens, we were always there for each other in the end. It's loyalty. It's camaraderie. We're together. And no matter how bad things seem to be, we're always together in the end. And we're always there for each other. And I want us to remember that. And I want us to remember why we're doing this job. We're doing this for the students. And I know that all of you feel the same way I do. It's the students that matter. It really is. So with that, I want to again wish you all a happy, happy International Day of Happiness.
We like the international part.
Thank you.
And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to President Kinnaman because we have a special certificate if the individual has made
Yes.
it here.
Trustee Stefan, I would also like to wish you a happy International Day of Happiness.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, everybody has to say that now. It's a real tongue twister here.
It is a tongue twister. It's my pleasure today to provide a certificate of appreciation to a student representative that was on the Student Bond Oversight Committee. She was a Cathedral City High School student. She also is currently attending College of the Desert. Her area of study is kinesiology and sports medicine. She has a 4.0 and is on the dean's list. And she has about another 3/4 of a page of information here. And for such a young person, you're quite accomplished. So congratulations to that. It's my pleasure to recognize Brenda Valdez. She served for us on the Oversight Committee from 2012 through 2014. So come on up.
Otherwise, I have to.
Okay, we owe the student trustee too. Wait a minute, one more
President
mic.
Kinnaman, I'd like the student trustee to have her picture.
Okay, that's great. Wish mine was like that.
And I forgot to mention that she currently is attending CSU Fullerton. Okay, great. Congratulations. So just a couple of things. I'm going to be real brief. I want to stress that this board and this college is committed to the street fair and to the alumni. This board and this college is committed to the street fair and to the alumni. We're also committed to bringing it in compliance with Ed Code and the Chancellor's office. To bring it in compliance with Ed Code and the Chancellor's office. In addition, there are some factors and issues that have occurred that necessitate that the Board of Trustees guard the street fair, preserve the street fair, and the Alumni Association. We need to do that to ensure that students continue to receive support and so we can ensure that merchants continue to be able to operate their businesses. So in that vein, we're going to be working to strengthen those relationships so that we do preserve both of those bodies. And so I just thought that maybe a little bit of addition to that so that it's pretty clear what the intent is and that there's not conjecture about what that intent is. And we will be coming back at some point in the future once we work through this with our colleagues to ask the board to give us guidance and resolution on ensuring that the funds that come from the street fair operation are earmarked solely for students and student support programs. That's how auxiliaries operate, And that's what's so unique about them, is they are geared to drive resources directly to student needs. And I will, oh, I do have more. I'm sorry, I forgot. You didn't start the timer.
No.
You're untimed.
I know. I was going to be brief. But now I have to pull up my notes. Okay, there we go. I also want to reiterate that we're committed to respecting the college processes regarding collaboration and decision making. And I want to draw your attention to, we've got this College Planning Council manual here, and it talks about all the many subcommittees that we have, what their roles are, and who's engaged in dialogue in each of those subcommittees. So if you're interested in any specific area or operation of the college, I encourage you to take a look at this, look at the table of contents, and then you can see who the individuals or positions that are involved in governance. An example is if you're interested in the college's budget, our reserves, the 50% calculation, any of those things, you can go to the budget subcommittee. You can look online and look at the minutes of the subcommittee, but everybody's invited to participate. Another area where communication can be improved is ensuring that dialogue around issues occur within the governance bodies that are specifically responsible for that topic. So what am I really saying there? I guess an example would be maybe the Academic Senate, where they have a role in professional matters, and it's often referred to as the 10+1, and they're outlined on page 48 of the document. And the Senate acts as a body through resolution or action on any of these matters. As a college, we must work together using the appropriate bodies. Currently, we are working on matters regarding professional development. Compliance with the Chancellor's Office requires a revision to our current policy and practice. I have the confidence, working collaboratively, that we will determine how the College of the Desert will come into compliance. I bring this to your attention so together we can strengthen communication, transparency, and be respectful of the roles of our colleagues and of the governance process. That concludes my report, and again, International Day of Happiness. Happy International Day.
Okay, that brings us to consent agenda. Thank you, Dr. Kinnaman. All items on the consent agenda will be considered for approval by a single vote without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be pulled from the consent agenda to be discussed and considered separately in the action agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
The motion was made by Trustee Campbell. And could I have a second?
Oh, I want to pull some items.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pull items. Go ahead.
I'd like to pull A8, B10, and B11.
B10 and what?
B11.
B11. Okay.
And I would, which is why my report was short, because I knew we were going to need some information on some other things. Under consent, human resources, number 5. Resignations. Administrative services, number 3, and this is going to sound more complicated than it is because there are items within that.
Okay.
Okay, so I would like to do number 4, the Moss companies.
Oh, wait a minute.
This is under.
When you get to it.
Okay, so do we want to just
You
pull
just
that
pulled
item?
B3,
Okay,
yeah.
and I think you did? Okay, I think he did.
No, you did.
Oh, I did, okay. I thought you had an item there.
No,
Okay.
I pulled B10 and 11.
Oh, B10 and 11, okay, great. And then I believe my other one is item 8, amendment to contract, which would be administrative services, item number 8.
Measure B. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we've pulled those items. I apologize. Let me go back. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
The motion has been made by trustee Campbell,
I'll second it.
and now it has been seconded by trustee Broughton.
You were stalling for time there, so
Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Student trustee Campbell?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Now, that brings us down to action agenda, and we'll start with those items that were pulled. The first item pulled was Human Resources A5, resignations.
right.
Trustee Broughton.
I am interested in, first, I'd like to express my appreciation to Larry that's leaving us for all the work he's done to build that program and to be responsive to the community interest and to work within the community with the interested players. He was very good at reaching out to the K-12s and reaching out through the to IID, to the various power companies, and I want to thank him for that work. Also, I want to thank the people, the administration that supported that work, because it wasn't done without the help of the deans and the vice presidents, and I mean, it was a very good team. We'll miss him greatly.
Excuse me, wait a minute a second.
Oh, am I being told I'm, okay, I didn't say
Yeah,
any
I
of that.
needed a
Okay.
motion, and then I need to have
Oh.
a second before I can have you
To
discuss.
motion, to approve. I move that we approve this item.
Second.
And it's been moved and seconded, and
And
now you
now,
can
what I
finish.
said
I'm sorry.
before, I put in right there, so you don't have to hear it again. But my question before I can have a qualified vote on this is I'd like to hear what's going to come of this program, as far as we know. And I was under the impression it was a workforce-related program, and I was wondering if that had changed.
It is, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay.
He can't,
It is,
but I
spoke with the dean, John Jaramillo, and it is an economic workforce development grant. And those activities, even though he's retiring, are continuing. The grant has been renewed, and Dean John Jaramillo has identified a potential interim and plans to, through competitive analysis, replace Larry.
Great. The people from the county that asked me will be happy to
Okay.
hear that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion was made to approve the resignation of Mr. Larry McLaughlin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oh, I'm sorry, student trustee.
Aye.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion carried unanimously. And just for the audiences to be aware, usually I have somebody, the chair usually has somebody up here taking the notes that I'm trying to copiously take. While everybody's, doing their thing, all the things I pulled. And so we're missing a few people. So that's why other people are giving me signals to look around, and I'm messing up and everything's
We're a team. We're a team.
going awry here. But that's okay. We got it on board now, right? I hope. Until I mess up again. Okay, so the next item that was pulled is Human Resources number 8, the rescind approval of job description.
Looking for a motion, so moved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded, and Michael, you were the one that pulled this, so thank you for making the motion. And could you speak to it, please?
I appreciate all that Laura presented, because that was a lot of my questions. I just wanted to know, is this a work in progress? Is there any other information that we should be aware of at this point? Because it looks bad, approving something and then a few months later disapproving it, and then, so I just want to know if there's any other information other than what we've already heard.
No, not really. It was that these went through at a time where there was some issues within HR last summer. And so it just unfortunately went through the process, and CSEA brought it to us, and we discussed it, and we agreed that it needed to be negotiated with them, and we are in the process, and it's going very well.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none.
Student trustee.
The motion is to rescind action taken at the June 19th, 2014 board meeting. And student trustee, could I have your advisory vote, please?
Aye.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This motion carried unanimously. I didn't ask for abstentions because I thought everybody voted. Okay. The next item is administrative services, another pulled item, number 3. And trustee Broughton, would you like to make the motion on this?
I would. I'd like to move to approve item number 3 under administrative services.
Is there a second?
Second. Oh,
And trustee O'Neill, I heard you first, so
no,
for your second.
that's all right. Whatever you want.
Tough. Maybe it was the echo, I don't know. Okay, anyhow, we have a motion and a second to approval of contracts, agreements, and amendments. Any discussion, trustee Broughton?
I ask your indulgence because this is an item which appears to be simple but really has multiple little parts in it. So as I slog along through these parts, we'll try to keep it all straight. Item number, one subsection is expenditure contracts. Number 4, Moss companies. I see Moss companies mentioned often. I don't usually think of that name when relating to the strategic master plan. So I'm interested in what they are and how they interact with this.
The president's giving me the nod.
Giving you the nod. Okay, I thought Anna was going to give me the nod.
I'll be a second nod.
Okay.
So I can tell you about the Moss Companies. The Moss Companies is actually the parent company of EIS Pro, who handles all of our bond construction projects here at the college and has for many years. They also do a majority of the strategic plans throughout community colleges in California. So they have been hired as a consultant to provide us guidance, and I think Anna can go into what they do and what they will do and what they won't do, because a lot of the work will be done by staff, but they are there to provide us guidance and make sure we have inclusion in all areas.
Yes, and one of our study sessions today is on the strategic planning process, and so I think you'll hear a lot more from Dr. Neary about how their role complements the work that's being done by staff, which will lead us to an updated master plan, hopefully by June.
That
Thank you.
quickly.
You don't just give me back. We can't see. Okay, number 5 is a nature explore at our Family Child Care Development Training Center. I was really happy to see that we are doing a workshop which will help introduce very young folks and those that work with them to natural resources. And it's just an opportunity for me to say that there are many resources in this valley as well, or within the state. So I'd like to remind that there is a free resource. It's called Ag in the Classroom. I want to remind them that exists, and that the local California Women for Agriculture chapter has participated in the past and may currently be participating in their garden. It's a good source because it both ties us back to the community and ties us back to minor details like little plant starts when you need them when you're starting a garden. So that's my only comment there, is we can't forget our local resources, although I'm quite happy we reached out to get some input about putting together curriculum for little folks is a challenge. So I'm happy that they're doing that. Under revenue agreements, there's a KidWin. Number 1 was KidWin. And I know that this project really reaches out to the community, even down as far as the edge of the earth where I live. We encourage students to reach outside their box and to consider STEM careers. So I'd like to know our COD's plans for this program, and what are we going to do to make it stronger and more robust?
Well, I don't see John Jaramillo in the audience. And this is a program that is under his area. He was here earlier, so I apologize, Trustee Broughton. I'm not prepared to give you a full update on that program.
It's not going to go away, so I could hear it later.
I do not believe there is any plans for that program to not be continuing. It's been successful, very successful.
As I say, one of the children I know at Las Palmitas was a big winner in that as a 6th grader, and it's turned her head towards science. So I think it's something we need to continue to stay, as well as the older kids from high school that now see a future. So I think it's important that we stay invested in KidWin, and how we remain invested in it is not a choice. I mean, it's not a direction that I can choose because I don't know the total ins and outs. But if it for some reason goes, it needs to be redirected within our College of the Desert community. I think it's a good opportunity, and it's open to boys and girls. There's no gender bias. It's open to kids that are first generation or that have parents that have PhDs. It's just a good opportunity to make a level playing field and look toward the future. So I'd like to encourage that program. Under non-monetary agreements, number 4, we're talking about a clean energy workforce program. What does this really mean? It looks to me like maybe it ties back to an earlier question. Why I see that the grant's been, it looks like we're a subcontract, and why is it expiring in June, and is there a future, and did the grant go away? See, it's bad when I read these things.
Yeah, again, Trustee Broughton, I apologize. I don't have the information on whether the grant is ending. But this is I believe this is one of the regional grants that we've been participating in for some time. I do know that we've had some new grants come in recently as well, and so there's a lot of pieces in motion right now in the energy programs. But I will follow up and get you that information specifically.
Because I sit on the ECAC, which is the Consumer Advisory Committee for IID, and I often put on my COD hat there, I can tell you that the state has an ever-increasing encouragement, I should say, as they twist the arms of power companies to have more and more renewable power. So we need to stay invested in renewable, clean power and training wherever we can find a way that we can do it without it, with it helping students and not impacting college fiscally. Number 5 is Desert Arc, and how it's a contract which looks very interesting. They are recycling scrap metal and e-wastes. And I was wondering how we do that. Is that not covered under our BURTEC agreement?
This particular contract, scrap metal, is not covered under our BURTEC agreement. In fact, the company that we used to use was out of the area, and they were called Cal Micro. They were unresponsive. We would have request pickups, and again, being non-responsive. They also charged each time they came out. We happened to hear did a tour of Desert Arc, asked them if they had such a program, and they said they would love to chat with us. So they're actually doing this at no cost. They're happy, we're happy, and they're a community partner. So
good.
It's a win-win.
I'm not in any way discouraging this contract with Desert Arc, and I'm sure you looked at the BURTEC contract. I know it's covered under other BURTEC contracts that I'm involved in. So
the scrap, it is not in ours.
In
that I
ours,
can tell you. Yes, I did look at that.
And there is an agreement that if another company's not charging the party that wants to use Desert Arc, then it's an open, it doesn't interfere with anyone's contract. But it's good to know that there's multiple opportunities.
Correct.
To get, because both of those, both scrap metal, which can actually sometimes help a company, and e-waste, which costs a lot to get rid of.
Right.
It's nice to know that those can work together. So I believe that ends my questions and need for information on item 3.
Alrighty, we have a motion and a second to approve the contracts and agreements and amendments. Student trustee Campbell, your vote.
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion carried unanimously. And that brings us down to consent agenda administrative services number 8. And that is
Me again.
amendment to a contract, Measure B bond project.
So-
Trustee Broughton, could you make a motion for that, please?
I move that we approve.
Second.
Second. Trustee O'Neill. And Trustee Broughton, would you like to address that first, please?
My question there is, I see that HMC created presentation boards for 2 community workshops. And what was our goal in the West Valley project, Campus Palm Springs Mall project? I'm interested in what was our goal for having these workshops and how many people attended and how did we invite people? How successful was it? What questions were asked? Are there any minutes or any, we always have some kind of backup on what happened, so.
We do. This item actually was our scoping sessions for
Mhm.
West Valley campus. I'm assuming you're referring to item number
Yes.
8.
Yeah, item number 8.
Because I think we have 2 items on here for HMC. but,
Yeah, we might, but it's item number 8.
Okay. So the boards were created. A scoping session is an invitation to the community that might be impacted by any development that's going on. So in preparation for our EIR, which we're midway through at this point, we invited community by notifications in the paper, published websites. It went out to all local agencies. And we did 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. They were very well attended, 40 to 50 people at each.
That's
We
good.
had a number of staff there. We do have sign-in sheets. I do have minutes. And we log, what's most important about those meetings is we log all comments. Those comments then go to shape what's included in our EIR so that we can help take care of concerns ahead of time as opposed, so we're being proactive as
Right.
opposed to reactive on that. And the boards were there, it was a kind of a test thing. Dr. Kenneman let me have a little bit of room to handle it in a different way. So instead of an informational one-way communication, it was a chance to meet and greet and walk around and have interaction. We had boards up where people could actually write their concerns on a board or discussion. All those are logged, and they're actually now incorporated into our draft that we're working on weekly now in preparation of that EIR, which will be published, and we'll have further meetings for comments, and then it would come to the board for approval. So it's a
And-
very long process, a very thorough process, and we're about midway through.
And our feedback was positive from the.
Feedback for the most part was all
That's what
positive.
I wouldn't
There's
expect it to be
always
totally positive
Yeah.
because it would mean that people didn't come to share their opinions and their thoughts. so-
concerns about traffic,
Right.
concerns about noise, concerns about lighting, what's going to happen. But in all, I think the overall feedback was, wow, we're pretty impressed with what you're doing. That's what we came away with, which was, it's always when you're doing EIR, it's not always that way. So we were pleasantly well-prepared and happy to have the community be such a supportive part.
So it's sounds to me that it was an effective community workshop.
I believe it was.
Great. Thank you.
Could I also add that scoping meeting that Lisa and staff put together really was effective, and we also replicated that process during Flex. And was that for our strategic plan kickoff so when we came back in January and kicked off the strategic planning process during Flex, there were scoping sessions for that really originated from that scoping meeting that we had from the West Valley campus.
Okay, any other discussion on that item? Seeing none. It's been moved and seconded to approve the amendment to contract Measure B bond project. Student trustee Campbell, your advisory vote.
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. And that brings us to pulled item administrative services number 10.
Madam Chair, could I have a ask for parliamentary? Can we combine 9 and 10?
No, 10
If
and
they're
11.
related. Can
10
we
and
combine
11.
them to one discussion?
10
No.
and 11, no?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
One more, no.
10 and
Because
11.
they're listed separately.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's, you have to.
All right, thank you,
Mhm.
sorry. Just wanted to save time.
All righty, so could I have a motion for 10?
You so move.
And could I have
Second.
second? And trustee Broughton has seconded that. Thank you. Now, trustee O'Neill, would you like to address number 10?
I just wanted to know, what is the classification difference between the properties in 10 and the one that we have up on the floor yet? Because one is being recycled through ARC, and one is being put out for auction. What is the criteria for differentiating what's basically junk and not junk, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, I'm going to defer to my Director of Fiscal Services because this was one of the items that I said to him, let's make sure we're compliant with Ed Code and let's get rid of some of our equipment. So he can speak to 10 and then the upcoming 11. As far as scrap metal, it's scrap. There's no value, there's nothing, it wouldn't be a piece of equipment, but it would be
A shell.
something
shell
that's
of a piece of
broken,
equipment,
something that's, it might be something construction, might be, so it would be completely scrapped. There would be no usefulness to it at all. The surplus is when there is value. So we have two ways to go about it. I'll let John go into that, or Mr. Ramont go into that, but then you decide if you donate or you sell, depending on what the outcome is. So I'll let him respond to that. So with that, John?
Madam Chair, Trustee O'Neill, thank you. Basically, they're the same thing. What we're doing is we have a couple of buildings that are just full of stuff that the college isn't using for anything. And so they are surplus. And what we tried to do was just look at things that were potentially usable, sellable to get value out of. Because when you look at Ed Code, the idea is that this stuff was bought with, purchased with public dollars, and the idea is that it still continue to go into public use or be surplus to try to get some sort of value or money out of it. However, not at the expense of creating additional expense and getting rid of it. And, unfortunately, sometimes it is a bit subjective, but when you go through there and you're looking at file cabinets, you can't get the drawers open, they're all jammed shut and bent up and things like that. There's just so much of it in there that we went through and made a good effort to try to classify what would be still useful and what just needs to be gone. The first thing we did was we opened it up for 2 weeks for staff on campus to come and look and say, hey, can you use this? And we had a number of people come out and tag it and say, yeah, we'll take it. And maintenance came and moved it and everything like that. And now we're left over with what we have. And these are in buildings, the administration building, where we're trying to get cleaned out so that we can start the renovation project there to make that space useful. Same with the liberal arts building and the C building, where ultimately the new boardroom will be. And there's just so much stuff that hasn't been dealt with properly up to this point, and it's just been sitting there and doing nothing for anybody. So again, it's all for surplus. It's just now we're trying to winnow it down into what do we just need to get rid of to get out of the way, so the rest of it we can look to sell. And what we're currently looking at is potentially looking at a public auction house to facilitate that, so that we can do it. But there's just a number of steps that we need to go through to properly dispose of that.
Many years ago, we had sales.
Mhm.
Is that still allowable, or do we have to go to an auction format?
No, well, it has to be, according to the Ed Code, it really does have to be an advertised auction out, and it depends on the value of the items too. It's just in the aggregate, we have so much stuff that, we need to put it out and make sure that it's a fair offering, in that we can't offer it to a particular group of people. It has to be open in general to everybody, so it has to be advertised out. And the auction is the most fair way of doing it, because then it's truly based on who's interested in it in that time.
Okay, great, thank you, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
So a karaoke machine? I can't believe that.
Yeah,
Students
and
haven't snatched that one up.
It has a little TV screen on it that's about that big, and I don't, and it's like, where do you get there's nothing that's used for it anymore, so. That's a lot of fun to
VHS
deal
tapes
with.
died.
Exactly.
So just to give you a little more information, there are the amount of equipment and that has just been pushed aside. The vision was that when Central Campus was going to be completely renovated, that this old furniture would be used, that we would try to use it effectively. But really, it's been sitting for at least 6 to 7 years, if not longer. And now with the Central Campus renovation not being part of the plan moving forward in the near future, we need to dispose of it. That is the most appropriate way. So to go about that, you offer it to your college. Is there anyone who wants to use it first here educationally? Secondly is then you have to surplus and then you have to value. We've tried contacting, poor John was given this task, and Marlene Reynolds. You have to find a firm that will come out to assist, and it's very difficult. So the auction is kind of one that has, with technology, has kind of evolved. So I think it's the same type of purpose. The end result is the same, that it is a sale, but it's just done through auction, which is, with the technology, is much more efficient. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Okay, no further comments? Okay, the motion was moved and seconded to declare equipment as surplus for disposal. Student trustee Campbell, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carried unanimously. And that brings us to
11.
pulled item from Administrative Services, number 11, declare equipment as surplus for public auction. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
And trustee Broughton seconded it. Trustee O'Neill, would you like to speak to it?
All my questions have been answered with relation to the last item, so I'm clear.
Okay, anyone else have any questions on that yet? Seeing none. Student trustee Campbell, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, that brings us to, if you will recall, under
We pulled
Action Board of Trustees, item 1 was pulled from this meeting and postponed till the next meeting. That now brings us to,
academic calendar that you added. Where did you add that?
it now brings us to, I believe, does HR come before? HR number, HR, which
No,
would,
we have Superintendent President, item 1.
do we put that one at the end when we add something, I believe? Okay.
It'll be HR 1.
Okay, it brings us to Superintendent President, number 1, member at large West Valley representative on the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee.
And yes, this is.
Wait,
So move.
Second.
it's been moved by trustee O'Neill
We've
and
already gotten a
seconded
red
by
thing.
trustee Broughton. And now discussion, could we have some background information first, though?
Yes, Madam Chair.
I've probably been fussed at today.
If you recall, this seat was vacated by Mr. Waldron, and we went through a process that is described that we have to follow whenever there's a public appointment that takes place, and we solicit for interest and applications, and we went through that process and then determined, based on the conclusion of that process, to make a recommendation to you of Fred Yount. Of course, Fred's with the former dean at CSU San Bernardino Palm Desert campus. He's knowledgeable about education, but more specifically, been involved in constructing facilities as well. So we think that he will be a very good member of that oversight committee.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from anyone on the board?
I thank him for his service. It takes a lot of time and effort and reading, and I'm very appreciative that he would serve on that board.
I'd like to second that and thank Fred for stepping up.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, it's been moved and seconded that our member at large for the West Valley representative of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee be
Approved.
be approved, and it will be Dr. Fred Yount. Student trustee Campbell, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, the motion has carried unanimously. And that brings us to administrative services. The first item up is budget revisions. Could I have a motion to approve the budget revisions?
So move.
Trustee
Second.
Broughton has made the motion. Trustee O'Neill has seconded it. Discussion. Do we need background information?
I'll describe
like
very
to.
briefly. This item is a monthly item that comes to you, so every time we have a change notification in our budget, we actually do a budget resolution that increases or decreases our budget based on the information. Before you today, we have two grant adjustments. One is for the Prop 39 agreement, actually adding $36,173. The second one is an Inland Empire Regional Training Consortium, $387,000 added to, again, both restricted funds. There is a increase for indirect costs, as you'll see that it assists our general fund by those, so we get a two benefit here. So those are presented before you for your approval. It allows our staff to then begin planning and spending these wonderful monies. So
What is our indirect cost percentage right now?
it varies. Mr. Vermont, can you assist me?
Sorry.
I could answer that in K-12, but community college is a
Yes.
little different.
Trustee O'Neill, we actually have a federal rate that's approved, and right now our current rate is 27%. It's very high. Most grants have a cap on them. Like a lot of our Title V grants, there's an 8% cap on it. The state grants, some of them are 4%. They can vary. But we do have a negotiated federal rate of 27% right now.
That is high. Wow, that's why I'm glad I asked. It's much higher than I remember. Thank you, John.
And just to know, those indirect costs offset, that those are some of the monies that we use to support the grant position that we're moving forward with.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, student trustee Campbell, could I have your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, the motion carried unanimously. And that brings us to fiscal services, item number 2. Resolution number 032015-1, authorizing the issuance of the Desert Community College District, Riverside and Imperial Counties, California 2015 General Obligation Refunding Bonds. Could I have a motion for this, please?
I will so move.
Second.
It's been moved by trustee O'Neill and seconded by trustee Campbell to approve resolution 032015-1. And now we need some background information, please.
We do. We have discussed this item quite at length. I think at the last meeting we provided a study session on what it was actually doing for us. We're refunding bonds, so refinancing basically in my terms, and saving taxpayer money. So there's no benefit to the college. We're not issuing more bonds. We're not increasing our debt. We're just taking advantage of a very lucrative or very favorable bond market. We have Mr. Adam Bauer here from Fieldman Rolap is here too, and he is our financial advisor who's put this together. This morning I was on the call having to go through due diligence, certifying everything and saying, yes, we've presented things correctly. Quite a process with new regulations. So I have Adam here to answer any questions. And again, it's approximate savings, depending on the sale, but we're estimating about 16%, which is a tremendous savings in a cost of interest savings.
And I don't think we can stress enough that this is a savings to the taxpayer, not the college.
That's correct.
These are the people who pay the bond bill.
Correct. Every
And-
December and every April.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Will they see a decrease in their yearly tax bill immediately, or is this something over 120 years?
Well, it depends on the definition of immediate. They will begin receiving the savings in fiscal year 15-16. So the property tax bills that get mailed in October and paid no later than December 10th will be the first time that they see a reduction in their taxes.
Great. My other question is, and I'm sure it's just procedural, but when I read this, not in hard copy, but on the electronic copy, which is not easy, there are a lot of blank lines. There were sections where there was information that was not filled in. Are we approving the process, or are we approving what's not in those blanks?
So before you, the preliminary official statement, you'll always have that until the actual statement is presented, and Adam can talk a little bit more about that process, but we provided that information. It will come to you for after it's actually printed, but it couldn't be printed before the process, so I'll let Adam explain that legal.
And you are approving some parameters in the resolution. So you're approving a not to exceed amount of par, a not to exceed interest rate, and a not to exceed underwriter's discount. Also, some cost of issuance as well. So those are the parameters. Now, everything in those blanks is either information that our bond counsel didn't have quite in time for your agenda, or are the final numbers that we won't know until after we actually price the bonds. After that's all done, like you said, Ms. Howe will have the information available to you. But I want to be clear, you are establishing parameters. All those numbers that we drop in there have to be within those parameters.
Okay, and I noticed in one section our FTESs were not listed for the years stated. Is that because they weren't available?
No, information was provided, but I believe at the time the agenda was printed, we hadn't had the call to, after we provide the information, you have to go through a call with everyone on the line to verify. Then you have to go through a second call, which was today, to actually validate, yes, this information, yes, I did supply this information, yes, it's accurate, yes, I'm swearing on my life. And then it will go to print with that information. I've done bonds for many, many years, and the process today is so rigid and so regulated because of the, I want to say abuses, but it's because of the past practices.
Well, the paperwork alone is overwhelming. I'll give you credit for the job here. And I just wanted to make sure that we weren't approving blanks that we didn't have parameters on, for want of a better words. Now I feel better, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on this?
You asked my questions.
Answered all your questions, and then some?
Well, yeah, and then some, but those blanks are a little like, okay.
All right, and with that, I will turn it over to Trustee Kinnaman, because this is a roll call vote.
Yeah, I think he's
Oh, that's
questioning
right.
whatever.
Student Trustee Campbell.
Aye.
Trustee Broughton.
Aye.
Trustee O'Neill.
Aye.
Trustee Stefan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The motion carried
Where's that?
unanimously.
Thank you.
I guess that's all I had to say on that, huh? Okay, and now that brings us to the item that we added to the agenda today, which is HR number 1, the approval of the 2015-2016 College of the Desert academic calendar. Do we have background on that?
I think we need a motion.
Motion.
Oh, wait, that's right. Yes,
And I
we
think
need a
it's my
motion.
turn.
That's what I did
My
last
fault.
time.
Motion.
And Trustee Broughton is making the motion,
I'll second it.
and Trustee O'Neill has seconded the motion. And now background information.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, first, I would like to acknowledge the Academic Calendar Committee. They began working on this calendar in October of 2014. And the Calendar Committee looked at adding additional flex days and a lot of different scenarios when they began the process. And again, it's it's a balancing act of where you put flex days and how many flex days, et cetera. This flex day ended up with having 6 days, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, which is a positive as far as some of our reporting to the Chancellor's office and collecting of apportionment. And on the committee, I just wanted to acknowledge different individuals, well, all the individuals on it. Our President of the Academic Senate, Douglas Redmond, Chair of Ed Policies. We had 2, one last semester, one this semester, Kim Dozier and Vina Rossi Dean. Our Faculty Union President, Denise Diamond. Our CODA President, David Bayshore. CSEA President, Laura Jimenez. Our Vice Presidents of HR, and our Executive Vice President, whom we know over across from us, our Executive Dean, Dr. Neary, and lastly, our scheduler, other than me, our scheduler, Rosalind Wiseman. And so I know that they're very pleased to have this before the board so that we can get it approved. We're going to be moving forward with having the academic calendar committee meet soon so we can start discussing hopefully a multiple year calendars for multiple years so that we are not in a situation where it's coming to the board so late. So that's the background. Is there
any discussion?
I just want to, this is one of those items this month we received a lot of emails regarding, and I just want to make sure that everything that we have done does not affect our instructional program. We're not losing instructional time. No. We're not jeopardizing any educational time. It's all to the benefit of everyone.
Yes.
That's all I want to do.
Well, I say everyone, but that's pretty broad. But
all right, it's to benefit faculty development, staff development, and it benefits our instructional program, and that we are funded for more
yes.
flex days.
Yes.
So there are no negatives that we are aware of.
That's from my perspective, yes.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
No, thank you.
Okay. Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2015-16 College of the Desert academic calendar. Our student trustee Campbell, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carried unanimously. At this time, we are brought down to our informational items. And if I could have everybody turn into your nice, fat, thick packet here. To informational items, we have the Early Retirement Incentive Program, and and so you can take that to review. Is there any information that we should be receiving on that besides that?
I believe just this.
We received this handout, is that correct? Everybody has that to peruse. And we have 2 items for the study session, student services, and then strategic planning process. So
Okay,
at this
yes.
time, if everybody has that item for their.
So what we would like to do under the information item is we would just like to report on what feedback we have received from PARS that has done the analysis on those that have expressed interest in the SERP, and then provide you an opportunity with any questions that you may have. And if you turn to page 3, page 3 has 2 tables on it. The first table shows the employees that were in the first column, 129 total. And could we see if we get the student trustee also a copy of this as we go through it? Thank you. We had 10 expressed interest in the program, 4 faculty, 2 educational administrators, 3 classified non-management, and 1 classified administrator and/or confidential. So a total of 10. And in the table below, it illustrates if there is savings or not that would warrant us moving forward and implementing the early retirement program. And as you look at the table, there are some assumptions that are made when PARS goes through and does the analysis. And I'll illustrate each one of those. When you look at faculty, the assumption here is we'll be, if you approve this at a future meeting, we'll be moving forward with having to hire people, but it will not occur for probably the first year for the faculty. So there would be a savings of $80,000 over a 5-year period, but we would backfill with adjunct dollars, and the cost of the backfill is, look over here, can you help me, Lisa? It looks like
Just the savings. It shows you the savings.
It just shows the savings, okay.
So, but it's figured off of, I don't know if
I think it's right here. It's the 33,973 that's on the assumptions. There's an
Yes.
assumption section.
Yeah, so, and then, then it assumes that it would be, full-time faculty then would come into year 2. So you start off with, for timing purposes, with the adjuncts being replacements. And we had a lot of discussion about this and impacts to FON, and so it was really highly discussed about the 12 that we're planning to hire.
Yes, we will still be above our FON number as we go through this process. We are projecting at least 4 above the FON. Of course, that'll be dependent on how many recruitments are successful during the spring and actual faculty that we hire. The educational administrators, we had 2 that had submitted interest, and this is showing that we would replace 1 of those administrators. So again, it shows a net savings over the period of 119 to 09. Classified non-management. Again, this shows that we would replace all of the classified non-management, which is 3, and that's why we show a negative amount. And then on the last one, it shows that we would replace the 1 classified administrator and confidential, which over the duration of the time, it ends up being negative. But overall, and we discussed philosophically overall, whether it's 1 for all, all for one type of approach, or whether you break this down depending on classification. Philosophically, I would recommend that we consider 1 for all for one, since we've got individuals that have expressed interest in the program and we still are able to have a cost savings. And so we wanted to present this and give an opportunity for you to ask us questions, and also give an opportunity for the college community to have the information as well. And then we can come back to you at your next meeting. So if there's, yes?
Question, is the 10 a real number, or is that a projected number?
That's a real number.
So these people have committed?
Yes.
Okay, and the period to commit is past?
Yes.
Yeah, we have all the paperwork in HR.
Okay.
Assuming it's approved by the
Yes,
board.
yes, yes.
Right, yes. So, and by the way, we do have Senior Vice President Eric O'Leary with us this afternoon. He is here to answer any and all questions. He is from Public Agency Retirement Services, or PARS, who is the agency who handles the majority of the SERPs.
Eric, did I steal your thunder?
Do you have anything to add?
Anything to add? No?
I want to thank the district for doing this. I know that there are people in my district that are really upset because they found out this year when they're planning to retire that our district only does it once every 7 to 10 years. And it is not this year. And they have reasons that they have to go through it this year. They have to retire this year. So, personal reasons. So I appreciate that our district did listen to the individuals, even though there weren't very many, and did try to do the calculations, and this will be considered at a future meeting for the board's approval hopefully, to enable those individuals that need to retire at this time to do so. Okay, seeing nothing else on that, that brings us down to the study sessions.
Trustee Broughton, would it be okay if we went to and just did one of these and maybe postponed one until our next meeting? And I think the one that's probably more appropriate for us today would be the strategic planning process, if the board would be okay with that.
I would be willing considering that if the chair would grant us a little bit of personal break time.
That we could all sit through all these?
Well, no, that we go with the one instead of the two, if we could
Okay.
possibly have a break.
I was going to suggest that,
Right now.
but I was also going to stress with the board that we really do need to look at strategic planning process, because the last time I remember us doing this as a board was, golly, before we had the bond measure. We really went through this strategic planning process, and it's supposed to be done every 3 to 5 years, so we're totally out of compliance as far as I'm concerned, and it is something that does need to be taken care of. So if we could take a short recess, notice I said short, like 5 to 10 minutes max, and come back and go through the whole strategic planning process so the entire board is aware. And I know that we will be reviewing with those board members that are not here today what is involved, because we do need to get on this ASAP since we are so far behind, as according to my calculations or my remembrances.
3:30?
So any objections? We'll reconvene at 3:30. Okay, we're going to reconvene because I've been late all day and I'm already 1 minute late again. I finally got two people seated, one standing up. She wants the floor to herself, and I got one hiding in the kitchen area over there. Okay, I'm sorry. Study session.
Yes, we have Dr. Neary that will be doing the study session. Maybe Dr. Martinez will also be helping, I'm not sure.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we're going to have two.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It takes two people to train us. We're so bad. Bad people that we are. Yes, we're supposed to have lots of these to come out to us, right?
Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, Dr. Kinnaman, Executive, and esteemed guests. Thank you again for the opportunity to present the process for the input for the upcoming strategic plan. And before we begin, I'd like to say Happy International Happiness Day. Day of Happiness.
International Day of Happiness. Yeah.
So,
Not International House of Pancakes.
So thank you again. So you have your handouts. These handouts were printed because we're doing quite a few sessions prior to, so I have to apologize. We updated 2 slides, and when we get to those slides, I'll walk you through that process. So today we're going to cover kind of introducing the process and overview of the planning, some existing data points that you have seen already, roles and responsibilities, and then questions and answers, of course. Strategic planning at College of the Desert. So when we have time, it's really nice to start participatory governance from the beginning, meaning that there's nothing written, there's no draft. We start with the who, the what, the when, and where and why of the strategic planning process. We inform and we provide lots of opportunities for input. So strategic planning is the way the college finds answers to the questions posed by the future, the institutional purposes, the values, institutional strengths and weaknesses, and compared to future trends and supported by data. So what's critical here is that every year decisions have to be made, future directions have to be anticipated, or planning has to be done, and the future has to be dealt with. And without a strategic plan that everybody had input to in the beginning, what happens is everybody will always ask, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And every year or every month, we continue to explain. In a strategic plan, what's different from a strategic plan as opposed to an educational master plan, it's our long-term goals, 5, 10, 15 years out. So when they say, why are we hiring so much staff out there? We can say that's because that's one of the 5, 6, 7 strategic plan goals that we have provided input and the data supported. And we can always point to those, those long-term goals. So why does COD need a strategic plan? We have a lot of changes and challenges taking place at College of the Desert, so we need to determine where we want to be in the future and how best we can obtain and reach our goals with a clear strategic context. So again, it's about providing participatory governance at the beginning, where we go to all the groups, they come to us, we integrate it, and we have a framework of data, population trends, and so forth.
How do we figure out who those groups are?
That's about 5 slides down. And then I'll show you kind of the input process, which should answer that question. So who should get involved? Everyone. Everyone's input is vital to ensure that the strategic plan is vetted. That means students, faculty, staff, leadership. It means our community. It means our K through 12 and our business partners.
There we go.
Who will be involved in the development of the plan? There's been a number of meetings and open forums that have been scheduled, and I'll go through those as well, where everyone attending will have an opportunity to contribute. Additionally, specific meetings have been scheduled with different constituency groups and organizations to gain input. And part of this is when we're doing the open forums in the different communities, and I'll point to where we have been to so far and where we're going to be next. They're being ran like a focus group where they have the presentation, they get the data, they're pointed in the direction, and there's actually focus group questions. And that's where Moss, the consultant, comes in, because research, we're really at a certain capacity right now with so many kind of data requests and needs that we have for the college, and then state needs, that what they're doing is what we call the transcription of a focus group, where they get everybody's input, integrate it, and combine it so that way everybody's voice is heard and nobody's voice is missed when we're doing a focus group. And then we do a content analysis of that. So they're basically gathering that information, and they assisted with the surveys tool, and I'll walk through that as well. Okay. How will it be developed? This is kind of when we have time, as opposed to we need 5 plans this semester. When we have time, we have the ability to do participatory governance, like I said from the beginning. Ideas and information are collected from the forums, other scheduled meetings, and they're consolidated. And from that, along with the data, we integrate a first draft. And what happens is that draft will be integrated and resent out to everybody who participated, and for those who didn't, an invitation to participate at that level. And then that draft is revised. And then it's sent out one more time before everyone gets out in June. And then when we return and before we start another plan, and I'll walk through our longitudinal cycle, what happens is if we send it out in September so we can remember the work we just did. And then we start the process for the next plan, and I'll talk about that when we look at our calendar. So where will this work take place? A variety of venues, like I stated earlier, open forums and meetings, and in different parts of the community. When will the process take place? It's already starting now. It started as early as 2 weeks ago, and I'll walk through some of the groups we met.
Yeah, we need to talk.
So information available for plans includes pivot tables, population projections, high school enrollments, academic programs, job projections, community college scorecard, and more. So these are some of the presentations you received here as the Board of Trustees, which is posted on the portal for the college community to revisit. And then we have some input venues for the community as well. So academic programs and job projections was another one. The scorecard data, and this information has been recently presented and is continuing to be presented. Executive Cabinet, March 3rd. We were at the Faculty Academic Senate March 3rd, but we were unable to present till after the Academic Senate meeting, which just happened last Thursday on the 19th. College Planning Council was introduced on March 6th, and we're going to report out again on March 27th. 3SL, those are all the managers that work within the Student Success and Student Learning branch, which is the largest branch of the college, and that presentation and focus group will happen on March 23rd. There was an open forum at Indio campus on March 16, and there was a small group who participated in the focus group. There was an open forum at Mecca Thermal on March 17, and that was also a small group.
I wonder why.
And in terms of the open forums, the open forum invitation was sent to the community on Monday, which is why there would have been a late notice for some of the open forums. So we sent out invitations. I did some follow-up conversations. So if there's any community members who wishes us to present at their location, for example, I spoke to a council member at the Indio campus that please send that invitation to us, and we will do the presentation there and run the focus group there as well. So we are starting to get some initial feedback about some of those other presentations. In terms of K through 12 district meeting, April 3rd, we're at Education Consortium. The K through 12 representatives will be there, and from that point, they will let us know if they would like us to do additional presentations within their districts as well. The open forum for Palm Springs High School is coming up on March 25th. The student services meeting, we already did the presentation and ran the focus group. It wasn't as detailed as the ones at Indio and Mecca Thermal, but there was input, and that was done on March 17th. Associated students of COD ASCOD, we will be presenting to them on March 23rd, and we'll be running a focus group with them. The materials have already been sent to them as well. The open forum for our Palm Desert campus is on March 24th. As we get invitations, we got some invitations to schools and chairs and department meetings, and some we're doing on March 27th, some we did last week. And then we just confirmed CSCA, we will be presenting and running a focus group with them on March 27th. So we created a portal for all the messaging. There's the original message on the portal. For those who wanted to provide additional input, there's a strategic master plan survey button. For all the data, if they wanted, there's slides that you're going to see in here, but there's more elaborate information that's listed on the right side. Let's see, right here. So if they want more information on one single slide in this presentation, it's all right here. If they want the most current presentation, it's right there as well. Every time we present, we post the agenda, the minutes of where we presented, and any handouts, additional handouts right here. And in this survey, I'll run through it at the end of the presentation. There is 16 questions for additional input, including, and I'll run through some of the questions so that the way the board can see what's in there. But it includes things like, what do you think should be, based on the data, what should be signature programs at Mecca Thermal, what should be signature programs at Indio, what should be signature programs at Palm Springs, and I'll run through the questionnaire at the end. Now for the community has access to the survey as well and additional input. Here is their survey button link. So the college campus and the community members can use it. They can click on this link, they provide additional input, and there's 16 questions, like I said. So it's a fairly easy survey, and then I'll go through the survey so that the board has an idea. And the board, we also want your input in terms of the strategic master button. And I found out this morning that we sent out a kind of a community call. Thank you to Ask God, to the students' body. They put out a link in Facebook, and we found out today that we have over 110 responses of combined community members, students, and so forth. Okay, so that's the short version, but I'll go through the longer version in a faster way. So again, strategic master plan. This should inform our mission, our goals, our planning assumptions, objectives, strategies, budget, and resource planning and implementation. It should be combined with goals approved by the Board of Trustees, data-driven and research, and then evaluated. So by the time we get through this process, we will have a strategic master plan that is connected to the other plans, supported with internal and external research. And what does that mean for us as a college in the long term? So now College of the Desert has planned out our planning, integrated planning calendar up until 2023. You see right here is the strategic master plan. So here the data in spring has been done. This is where the writing begins, and then this is when it's finalized and implemented in 15 and 16 year. So what we have done in the past for an accreditation cycle, we try to review all these plans in the same term and do a lot of work with limited resources. So what we have done is layered the plans so that we're doing work throughout the process, evaluating it, and not all on top of each other. So following the strategic master plan, that should inform the educational master plan. And once we know what our future goals are, where we're going to grow, what programs we're going to grow, then we know what technology we need, which is the technology master plan. And then from that, we know what facilities will support that. And then we layer it so they inform each other. And ideally what happens is if we get the input from the beginning and we inform and we tier it so that all of it is not happening at once. Our responsibility as an office to the board, to the college campus, to the faculty, staff, leadership, and community is what we call the one-page dashboard indicator report. Instead of these documents being put away on a shelf, our obligation is to do a report every year to tell you if we made progress, some progress, or no progress, and why, and the supporting documentation in a one-page, and then in an extensive document that should be posted. Those are usually called dashboard indicator reports, and that's how you make a document living if we keep going back and reporting the progress on it. And hopefully by the time this is done in spring, we'll have a dashboard indicator report to show you the progress on the goals, if any, and then we'll show you, and then we'll start the work for the next plan, which is educational master plan. And by the time we'll review all our plans, it'll be in time for our accreditation site visit, and we can show that we're actually doing a cycle. Any questions on that?
Yeah, it's real hard to read the real teeny tiny print down here, so can you at least read us what the key is, the blue, the yellow, the red,
yes.
the green?
So blue is evaluation.
So that's the last step.
This is first step. You always evaluate where you are and gather
So
input.
right now, we're evaluating where we are at these meetings?
Evaluating and gathering input.
Okay.
Yellow is the beginning of the cycle, and then red is the full implementation.
The implementation. And then we wait. Are these, because I can't really read the top either, it's fall, spring, or spring, fall?
Yes, it's spring,
So
fall.
We're doing a spring, and then in the fall, we're going to do the beginning of the thing, and then in the following spring,
Yes.
we're
and then
going to have the thing
for
produced,
educational
right?
master plan, right
So
there.
that's roughly every
Every term we will be doing some type of work.
5. So it will be 5 years when we go through this again. Okay, I just want to make sure that we get on this cycle because we have not been on this, you know,
That's
and I
correct.
mean, it's really been confusing. Now, what is the green part?
The green are mandated state reports or mandated state visits.
Okay.
So here, so people, because a lot of times when there's a report that's due, like student success or student equity, if people don't see it laid out in a long-term picture, people are like, why are we doing this work now? When usually a year or two prior, we can adjust this calendar as needed. We can see that we were given a mandate at this point, and then we had to implement the next term. So in the last 2 years, we've been given more mandates than we have over a longer period of time. And so now the college can see that we are doing this ongoing work. And then with accreditation, they can see the greens are the mandatory points where all of this needs to be explained within those self-studies and midterm report.
Okay, so they do follow down the right.
So from whom do we want input?
We want it from students, faculty, staff, communities, K through 12 business partners.
So how are we going about, some of it's pretty easy, how are we going about community and business partners?
So with the community business partners, I worked with
I'm thinking those are probably two different. I mean, they're not.
No, they're not the same.
Not necessarily.
So I worked with the public information officer in terms of some initial business partners and community contacts. Now, they were sent the open forums, but some of them didn't have enough time. So we did offer up the opportunity when they got it. If they would like this presentation and a focus group at their arena or their meeting, we did offer that up as a possibility. So if a Chamber of Commerce called us.
How many people have you had step up? I've not had a soul mention to me they even knew about this. I fell over the information that it was happening that day. I'm thinking I wasn't the only one. I've asked people since then. I mean, it's not just they haven't come to me. I've gone to them and said, oh, did you participate? And they said, okay. So maybe we're not really getting enough information. How many people did we have come to Indio?
At Indio, there was 5.
I wonder why. What about Mecca Thermal?
3.
Did we invite any elected official from below Coachella? No, we didn't. Did we invite any appointed official, any of the community services district? No, we didn't.
I think so.
Did we, I mean, I think we're preaching to the choir. I think that we're pretending we're asking. Did our business partners?
I know some of our business partners were contacted. I know some of our K through 12 were contacted.
And how much time did we give them? Were we respectful of their calendars?
That's a good point. Part of it was our office was putting this together, so part of it was our delays. So we can actually send out another set of open forums, and I could follow.
I think we're probably going to need to because I don't think we worked through our supervisor, John Benoit's office, to see what valid appointed people he has that would probably. I don't think that the list I saw of business partners is like, okay, that's really old. They were not, it was not, I think we're preaching to the choir. I don't believe we were invited to any of these. You know, I would have been at mine.
Okay. What we can do is we'll reset another, because part of the focus groups is this kind of feedback. So we found out from a council member that they would like us here and they're going to put the survey. So part of that is us fumbling through this process as we learn to do this from the beginning and understand those contacts. So I appreciate the feedback. And then what I'll do is I'll work and communicate with you guys another set of open forums with some more time. That way we can invite who we need to.
You're absolutely correct about going to the council meetings and going to the chamber meetings. And if we're looking for agricultural feedback, we perhaps should consider some of those meetings, the great meetings, the date meetings, the different. I mean, our agricultural contact, no offense, but that's really an old contact. That company used to be very large in this valley, and that was a while ago. Stuff's happened since then. We didn't reach out to even our partners that use us through PACE for training. Their names weren't there.
If you wouldn't mind, we'll contact the president's office to get anybody and everybody you think we need to. And this will help us in the future processes as we do future plans.
Did we reach down to, you know, we do represent Imperial Valley and we represent Salton City, and they have a community services district?
See, that would be great to know, so that,
I'm
again,
on a community, I'm gonna let I hold another office for a community services district. Most of the incorporated areas are represented by appointed community areas, community representatives. There's just there's a lot of government out there that maybe they don't hit you all the time.
Okay.
They're there. There's leadership in that area that I just can't imagine that we're just ignoring those people. Did we go to people like Boys and Girls Clubs and Desert Recreation and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and DLA and Job's Daughters? And
yeah, we did get some feedback on the Boys and Girls Club and so forth. So we're working with different groups as we get requests.
Organized athletics, but that's as we get requests. They don't even know to request.
That's a good point. No.
You know?
We will follow up with your office and then get all the feedback from the board.
There's faith-based organizations out there?
We did get requests for faith-based organizations in the East Valley. But you're right, they might not know that they need or can submit a request. So I'm working with the president's office. And then what we will do is we will learn from this process so that when we do the next few plans, we'll have those community-based, the current leadership that we should approach in terms of feedback for these plans.
And if we're looking for students or future students, some of those places like think that's San Jose Community Center that helps students recover credits. Those
Mhm.
are students that will come to us once they
Okay.
do the recovery of the high school units, because now they've turned their
Okay.
life around and they're moving on.
Okay.
That'd be interesting input.
Actually, it would, especially when we're trying to increase our capture rate. Mhm. Okay.
Are we also opening this up for like public forums that we will have, like a newspaper thing a week or two in advance, in the Sunday paper? Because we did that before and we had a great input. In fact, that was the first time I met Becky. Was at one of those.
What we'll do is once we confirm, once the president office confirms who we should and who we missed and who we included, what we can do is anticipate that, and we'll see if we can publish in the newspaper and work with the PIO office.
Well, but to have a forum, announce in the paper that we're going to have
Yeah.
forums in the different communities so that the public can come, because they will come if they know when they can get it in their schedules.
Okay.
And it did work well before.
Okay, thank you.
It worked really well before, I know that.
We'll work on that. And again,
How will we reach out to Imperial Valley? I mean, we do have a section of that. Are you gonna?
so what we're doing is, once we verify everyone we should be reaching out, and what we've been doing is we go to those communities in one of their locations. So, for example, we did get some feedback about a council. We did get some feedback about a Boys and Girls Club. So the idea is if they put us or they want us there, we will present that information. We'll give them access to the information, and we'll run a focus group. So for those people who want to be heard there, we do a transcription of everything they said so we can compile it as input. So if Imperial Valley is one of the communities we attend, if there's a community center or a place we can go, we will drive out there. And we'll bring a research team so we make sure we don't miss any input.
Will more likely be in a school.
Yeah.
And our district, our community college district covers the entire area that Coachella Valley Unified covers.
Okay.
If you ever want to look at the map, they have better maps than we do.
Much better.
Much better, yes.
You listed some of the information that's available for the plans and stuff, but when you present at these various sites, what do you give them initially to jumpstart this?
If we know in advance the meeting date, what we do in advance, we give them the presentation in advance so they can formulate their questions and so forth. We're trying to make our portal page kind of a live web page, so that way I can send them the link. Internal constituent groups is easy. I can just send them the link so they can study all of it prior to the meeting, and then they can prepare questions and feedback, or they can send questions ahead of time. For right now, we're sending the presentation in advance, and we have the survey button that we can send in advance to community members. But the part we're missing is all those documents on the portal page. And I made a request to see if that portal page can be made visible on our website so community members can sift through it. If they can't, if I get confirmation that it can't just be made live, so to speak, or turned on, then I can find a place under community to post all that information as well.
So all of our contact is electronic. We don't have anything paper.
Mm-mm.
I'm not sure that's the best
I was gonna
approach.
say, and
That's not a good approach
so
for
if
the
you
East
live
Side.
at the edge of the earth and you don't have internet,
Even if you do, it doesn't work all the time. That's
That's
a major
true.
problem out there.
So for example, the public ad is one way. Any
That's why I
suggestions
said newspaper.
of how?
radio,
Radio.
especially.
Oh, we could
especially
do Spanish radio.
Especially
Yeah.
Spanish radio,
We could do Spanish radio.
especially
Okay.
Spanish radio.
I think we sometimes over-rely on the electronic means of communication in the valley, and it's not always that reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people prefer something hard copy that they can look at and hands-on touch. I mean, I click on those things on our email and I'm okay. I'll get back to you next week, and next week comes, and thank God Linda sent us a notice that our 700 report was due because next week came and went, and I never did it. So I think we can assume that people are looking at this, but in reality, when I get something in the mail and I look at it, oh, okay, this looks, more tangible. Maybe I'm just old. I am. But I think we have that group of people here. You know?
Well, not only that, even in La Quinta, I've had my phone go dead talking to somebody just because I went from one area to another area and it didn't pick up. And it's pretty bad when it's your doctor, you know, and you're wondering what the test result was. So the point I want to make is, you know, there's various areas throughout the valley where the people don't have the technology, you know, and by we're using technology primarily, we're excluding people, and we don't want to do that. And I met with the assemblyman at one of the dinners that I went to, and that was a big topic, you know, how are we going to get the technology out there? Well, it isn't there yet, you know, and I've been going to things for over 10 years, and it hasn't been there, and they keep coming up with solutions, but it's not there yet. Even though they might have a piece of technology, they can't use it when they're at home.
No, that's
So,
a good.
you know, we've got to consider that. It's just the way it is in this valley. It's a unique valley. And there's some other valleys throughout the state, he said, that are the same way.
No, that's good feedback.
One thing, I'm thinking I might be a little bit off topic, but I was wondering if maybe you can utilize ASCOD and work with Carlos to have like kind of like a mini internship with, I mean, I wouldn't know which position, but someone that can, you can teach along the way about the master plan, and they can, you know, teach our Senate, which then will, you know, be able to talk about it at, you know, an educated manner to the students, our constituents, our ICC, and like these little ways of how to communicate, and the students will be on top of it and be able to offer you so much insight. Maybe that's something that you can work with Carlos with.
Carlos already, that suggestion already came from ASCOD, and we're meeting with them Monday. We're presenting it, and we were waiting to see what their suggestion was in terms of how to communicate to students and get students' feedback. We'll be going through the full exercise with them, and we're actually doing the focus group exercise with them with the hopes of getting to what you are speaking to. So thank you.
Okay. So we're all on the same wavelength.
And then just to give you an indication of some of the information that they're getting is our scorecard. You know, we have more female students. Our median age is getting younger. We're a largely Latino Hispanic student population, 66%. So that way people know how we look like prior to, so they're informed. In terms of our annual headcount, even though it's showing a decrease into the 12s and 13,000, in the next 2 years, we're most likely going to get to the 15,000, 16,000 fairly easily. So, and then I explain that in terms of the headcounts. Student headcount by age, you see fall 2010 all the way to fall 2014. You see that the group that's increasing is the 20 to 24. We actually anticipate the 19 and younger as a group to increase, but you see the decreases are happening with our older students, which is 40 to 49 and 59 to older. In terms of ethnicity, you see the increase in our Hispanic Latino students, a decrease in our white students. What's interesting is we are having a steady increase in our multiracial students as well. And here is, I love this new tool that research has in GIS because we can see where the students live and where they cluster out. And you can see clearly in the East Valley, we have a huge amount of students. But there are some student populations growing in the Desert Hot Springs where we're seeing the decreases, and we're seeing it in the Unified School District as well as in Palm Springs. And our persistence rate stays steady, about 85%. But even though that looks like an impressive number persistent, you could fail and earn W's, and as long as you're here from fall, spring, and fall, you still persisted. Doesn't mean you persisted successfully.
It's not success, it's just you're physically present.
Yes, you're physically present. So here's our student head count by each campus from fall 2010 to 2014. You see our Palm Desert campus, and the increases are coming back. Our Mecca Thermal is holding steady, but we're expecting some increases there because of the courses being offered. But you see, but
When you're saturated, you're saturated. When you're saturated, you're saturated.
Exactly. And you see the huge jump. Indio Well, that's the increasing student population. That's a growing community.
And we're offering better,
Mhm.
better and more.
Yes, better and more. And we're packed. I mean, that's a facility that's packed. And we're happy to say, in terms of kind of the needs, separate, different services, Eastern Valley is Indio Center is so used. And because our increase in Friday and Saturday classes, we're announcing next week that we opened up learning resources and TASC services on Fridays and Saturdays. We found out the library in Indio was closed and that we were the sole location for those Friday hours. And I just want to thank Danielle Kroll, Scott Cooper for working on those hours. And we found some staff and we're in the prioritization process. So that way we can continue the Friday and Saturday hours. And we're thinking and extending some of the evening hours.
So Indio City Council, Indio Chamber, and the Mexican, what is there's another chamber. There's
The Mexican American Chamber of Commerce,
It-
but that's for all of Coachella Valley. even.
Yes, yes, but still, those will be really, because that truly is right in that
That would
location.
be right up their alley, yeah.
And
their input.
Question on the distance education. Is that at capacity?
No, not currently. We were lucky enough to hire our distance ed coordinator last fall, who, as you see, some policies have been approved. And we actually, Kim Dozier actually went ahead. She's already building the online presence on an online site and working on adding other materials and services. And we're working on meeting the accreditation standards to offer the similar services or comparable services to our distance ed students. Because right now, some of our distance ed offerings, the success rates are quite a bit lower than the face-to-face. So it means we have to provide a support system. And I think Kim has gotten a good start, our distance ed coordinator, on that. So when that's in place, I think we'll start to see the increases. But no, we're not at capacity there.
My recent experience with distance ed has shown me that the actual structure of the class, it doesn't necessarily have to, make or break the success of the class. I mean, if the student interacts with the teacher once a week, meaning there's a podcast to watch, it's probably not enough, at least for a high school student. But if you have several, maybe 3 during the week, even if one of them is the business of the class. Oh, this week you should be getting this and this and this done, and that kind of thing. It makes all the difference. It makes the student supported.
Do we have any data on where those students are located that are in distance education?
We can get that for you.
Because that would be
If you
really
wanna see that.
interesting,
Including if they're not in this area.
Okay.
I think that would be interesting too.
Also, as we're reaching out to our community, if we're thinking about growing the distance ed, and I don't know if that's a priority or not for us, but if we are thinking about it, we should also, in the areas that don't have reliable internet, then we need to remind people that you can take your notebook or your tablet and sit at the Mecca-Thermal campus or the Indio campus or on this campus and use the
do that.
Wi-Fi. That you only need to be a student.
It was in terms of input on the survey, that was one of the questions that was brought up. So there's one on how to improve distance ed and what should be our focus and how we grow distance ed.
Okay,
And
that's
there's
the
a questions on that
And
and
there's-
in the focus group.
Another thing, this is really critical, they're supposed to be getting a Starbucks, which we all know has internet access, out near the Salton Sea.
Oh,
out there.
wow.
So,
That's
where
gonna have internet access.
The Jack in the Box is across the street. Realtor told me that that's coming.
What's interesting is one of our focus groups talked about internet access if we wanted to grow distance ed in the East Valley, and they suggested that we should consolidate all Wi-Fi access because as we learned that the library was closed on Friday and we were it for that community, that we should facilitate those results. So that did come through on a focus group, which was kind of interesting because I've never heard that before.
I think that was something the city of Indio requested, that we collaborate with them on their library usage and technology, if I
Yes,
remember
and-
correctly,
But in that
in the future.
more eastern area, that if there were any way that we could work together, it would help. I think the Boys and Girls Club also has internet. So, and they've been a great partner
Yes,
for us.
I agree.
And they have facilities that they only use after school. So we could work something out.
The other good news in terms of the headcount that we're hoping, the EDGE program has expanded to all 3 locations, and we expect that to have an effect. It's going to be at Palm Springs, at Indio, and at Palm Desert, and we fully expect that with a captured audience like that, that they would easily transition to COD. So again, population projections and high school enrollments, you've seen these before. You see that our biggest population increase is in the East Valley with Coachella and Indio. But even then, we still have room to work with because of the 12th graders in our valley. So we know we have quite a bit of 12th grade enrollment. We know that about 80% or so are graduating. However, we also know that our capture rate is only 28%. So we're really excited about having kind of these summer programs at, for example, at a high school location, because in one case, we have verbal commitments that they're referring all their seniors to us to participate in the EDGE, and that's about 300 students at Palm Springs. So expanding and working with the high school will be key for that capture rate. And then we're currently working on some potential marketing plans, and we're hoping that comes through marketing and outreach through the input, because that's going to be huge in reaching this crowd. And then again, you've seen this in the past, it's the educational attainment. You see the 47% and 39%, which is 86% of the people who live in the Unified School District of Coachella Valley have a high school or less, with only a college attainment of about 14%. And you see how that significantly changes for people who live in the Unified School District or service area of Desert Hot Springs, where it's at 35%. And then compared to Palm Springs, people who live in the Unified School District of Palm Springs at 32%. But here, we really have a need here.
And there are some of us that would say even that is perhaps a matter of interpretation, literally and figuratively.
And again, just to review some scorecard.
Check the box that matches your culture.
How College of the Desert compares, our students are completing degree certificates and transfers at lower rates than our comparison cohort group from the state and to the statewide average. Our college-prepared students who do not have to take or did not test into any basic skill courses, they're completing at College of the Desert at 62%. Students who had to take basic skill courses at College of the Desert are completing at almost half that, which is 35%. And because so many of our students are unprepared, it skews it, so our average is at 38%. How do we compare in CTE? Unlike degree certificates and transfer total, COD students are completing at higher rates than the comparison group and statewide average for CTE completion in degree certificates and transfer. In terms of basic skills, you can see our students are performing average to their cohort, statewide cohort, and the statewide average in English, a little lower in math in the 20 percentile, and we're doing better in ESL in the 30 percentile. And these are the questions that we cover in a focus group. We're not going to cover them today, but there's open-ended questions on the survey that I'll show you in a minute, and you can see, based on the data presented and your first-hand knowledge of the district, if the district enrollment continues to grow, what areas do you see are best studied for further growth? What should be recognized as priorities of the district in the future, both location-wise and programmatically? How have recent changes in legislation impacted our mission? Distance ed that's the distance ed I was referring to. It's become more abundant, but how does that look and how do we service that in our area? And the other questions are, given your knowledge of the area and students we're serving, what opportunities or what recommendations for improving our district's capture rate, and various campus locations signature programs, and what initiatives and services should be considered. And then strategic partnerships. So that's how what's been coming out in terms of the focus groups. Who should be our strategic partners as we create our first draft and our final draft of the strategic master plan. And then the link to the plan has been made available on the portal as well as the website. It's actually going to be active longer than April because we have some presentations in K through 12 that we're doing on April 3rd, so we're extending that. And then
I think April 3rd's, like really cutting it close.
Considering
close.
we've not really even done the East Valley, we just kind of said, oh, you're here anyway, come.
Yeah,
So we'll
we
try
need
more.
to get out more into all the communities, and I think maybe we just need to extend that date.
Yeah, I agree.
You
And
know,
we got that
because
feedback
I think
already.
that's the most important step is the inclusion of everybody. The more we can include, the better our data is going to be, and the more information we're going to get, and the better we're going to be able to progress. So I think that, you know, we can.
Annabelle?
Yes.
I'm just reading the questions to consider, and I can understand how an elected official, a school board member, or someone could address these, but I'm not sure the general citizen in the community would be able to either, in some cases, understand, or in other cases, be able to respond. Does the data collection have to be so, what's the word I'm looking for, elevated in its approach?
That's actually a good question. You know, in your feedback here, it's almost like we're doing a focus group here right now. If you look at the survey, we try to take that into account, and we may or may not have done a great job, but we talked about, is it a business partner, is it a community member, so we can start differentiating, you know, who is providing us our input. And we did basic questions. There's about 16. Are you aware that the college is updating their strategic master plan? Because we found out that, interesting enough, people were visiting our website and kind of fell, like we could see some, they kind of fell into the survey and said, hey, I want to take it. And so that gives us an indication. How did you learn about this process? How do you think the college is meeting the local the needs of the local community? And then we talk about kind of different topics. So maybe part of this process is, as you maybe take a look at this over the weekend and think about the question you asked, any feedback to improve the tool or add to the tool would certainly be appreciated. So, and even basic questions communities, have you ever visited our website? Is it effective? So do you do social network? What's, you know, in terms of, do you read the press? Do you receive publications from COD in the mail? So we really try to look at kind of the community as a whole outside of the internal community.
Are these here? Are these questions here?
Not in the presentation, but we do send the link in advance when we present.
You know,
You think a paper saver?
sometimes our website's hard to access. So perhaps we should at least offer a place that, if you can't make this link work,
A paper
email
copy?
someone, you know?
Oh, yeah,
Because
we could
you're obviously on the internet, you're trying to make a link work, but Angela can tell you how often we're frustrated about not being able to use the website.
Okay.
If you're on campus, you're using the campus computer, it's great.
It's wonderful.
The rest of us, we're not so lucky.
Annabelle,
Not fun when you're off campus trying to manipulate around.
When you have public forums, my suggestion would be to take this and just ask questions and let the people brainstorm more, if that's possible.
That's usually what we
Because
do.
to me, you know, you pass this out, you'll have people get up and leave. I know the clientels I've worked with in my area and some in Becky's area, you know, they look at that and they think, oh my God, it's like a test in school. Right for that door.
is our my portal independent standalone?
It's internal to our college, so we're trying to make it visible. And if no, we're going to have to build a site on the website for that, to post all those
Okay,
documents.
I was trying to think if we had something currently that we use that was independent that we might be able to link to, but I don't know.
You can't access the portal off campus. Even though we have access to the campus system, we can't access the portal.
So Dr. Martinez is sharing with me that it is easy, and we can work on this over the weekend and see if we can make more documents public and available by Monday.
Our public website and our portal are built using SharePoint, both of them. So it's the same program, they just have a different look and feel to them. And so I think that we could easily build a page with the portal information that's available to the public. I think we can do that quite easily.
But something, you know, where they could just offer suggestions if they could get into it. you know, but when you go out to the public and you're talking one-on-one, they like the interaction, is what I've noticed when I go to the parent meetings and things like that in the community. They like that one-on-one, and they like, you know, they like to see their ideas put on the whiteboard or whatever kind of thing you've got.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, to them, that's like, oh, you validated me, okay? You know, rather than, you know, just taking your copious notes and things
Oh,
like that.
you are so
like
right. How many
do.
people feel this way? How many people feel that way, and putting it up and marking it?
Yeah,
and
or, you know,
charting it
anybody
up
got
and-
any great ideas, and then you just start letting them brainstorm, even if it sounds stupid, you know, there might be something to what they're saying, you know, when we go back and look at it.
Okay.
You know, because it might sound.
Right, or it makes, I hear you say something and
Oh, it
my
made
brain
sense
works,
to
right,
me, yeah, you know, I know what you're talking about, and I say it right, you know, that kind of thing.
This is totally off the subject. Lars is going to kill me, but when we use that picture, I get infuriated because all those beautiful palm trees are no longer there, and we keep using pictures that are dated that don't really reflect what we are now. Not that I necessarily agree with this concrete pad out here, but I think we should be careful. Hire somebody to take a new picture. But I've seen this pop up on a number of presentations, including foundation presentations. They're using this old lovely picture of the college, which ain't the situation. Just an aside.
What's sad is when somebody asks me, where is that?
I will say Pam has had a photographer out here within the past 2 weeks taking new pictures out there, so.
Thank you.
Because I don't know where to tell them to go.
Any more questions? And then I'll send the follow-up to the president's office, and we look forward to your feedback, and we look forward to getting the process
Yeah.
better, so by the
Well,
time we
well,
do
just,
this.
you know, think of the clientele that we want to draw everybody into it, and you have to think of, you know, well, what do those people need to make them want to participate?
who actually is going out and doing the presentation?
It's between me, Dr. Martinez, and then Amanda's our backup. And then if Mass can't join us, because when we are running a focus group or asking questions or brainstorming, we're busy doing this. Mass is actually gathering the information and doing what we call a transcription, so we can do a content analysis later. We have research capacity that can come up with us when they can't come. So for example, when we're at ASCOT on Monday, I'll be running the focus group, and Mass will be collecting all the information from the students. And then based on what the input from the student is, we'll take the next steps and how to market to them to get their input.
I wonder if we're using your talents the way we should, because you two are so good at picking up data and manipulating it in your mind so that they go in the right places and they fit together. I wonder if sometimes we shouldn't have a community person or person that's worked with the community running the workshop so that you're free. You know, when you team teach and one of you does the warm and fuzzy part, and the other one stands in the back of the room and does the real teaching part, so the real gathering of information, so you can feed back to the one in the front as to what people got and what went over their head.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure we're using your talents to the best advantage for the gathering of the information. So we might think about tweaking that part for at least some groups.
Okay.
You know, it might be worth looking at, because you're both,
Before?
you know, you're very good at picking up points, and you'd pick up a point that I'd miss totally. And be able to manipulate it later to go, oh, that goes in that spot, and look, when you put those together, it means this, okay? But you can't do that if you're busy trying to draw out of this person what it is they're trying to say. So it's just a thought.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could have like some volunteers from an area that were, that put them into smaller groups even, because sometimes individuals
we've
in
done
the
that,
public,
yeah.
they won't share in a large group, but you want to have a large volume of people come, you know, so if you could, you know, just get them into.
Yeah, we could. We understand, yeah, because normally we were in the background, and then we
Yeah.
have a facilitator. So that's why we're looking at Amanda.
Yeah.
She's She's a counselor.
Okay, well, and that may be the perfect thing. That may be, have Amanda in the front. She knows the population. She may not know those people,
You don't have to
but
know
she knows the area and the
population,
community,
what's going
and it
on.
makes you free to do your work instead of distracting you from doing what you really are there to do.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Any more? Get off the hot seat.
Anything else?
Yeah, man, they're gonna get
I know, they just want to get out of here right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But thank you very much. Give us a good heads up on this. Okay, is there anything else that anyone would like to bring? Oh, let me remind all the board members, your 700 forms are due the 30th?
The first
The
of
first, the
April.
1st of April, and the sooner you bring them in, the sooner
Sooner
you're
Linda
rid
can
of them.
check our name off that list, that's right.
Yep, and the sooner you're rid of them. Remember, if you have anything you want brought up as an agenda item, to please send it to Angela.
Poor Angela.
Poor Angela, and then it can be brought up. If there is anything that you have questions or concerns about, send them to Angela so that she can forward them to me somehow. And we can make sure that we address your concerns or comments or questions or something that needs to be put on the agenda. Also, if I could have everybody look, I believe inside all of your folders now, we have a list of all of the national and state conferences coming up. And if you'll look at October in San Diego, October 14th through 17th, we have the San Diego is hosting the 2015 ACCT Leadership Congress. And that's the one that we should be going to because we can all attend that without too much expense.
Angela, is
And
this what
we
you
will
emailed
check.
us? You emailed us.
Yes, she
right?
emailed this to us.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and the reason I want to bring that to your attention is it will cut expenses, it will get us all some training. We can all be at that together and just go to attend different sessions. And if we need to change our date of our meeting, we will need to do that because I think it's very,
The meeting is
I
scheduled for the
recognize
16th.
it's recognized for the 16th, so we'll have to eventually get that on the agenda next month to try to change that date. Okay? But I acknowledge the fact that we were short two board members this time, and it was a problem, because had something happened last night to one of us, or even this morning, it would have made it very, very impossible. We would not have been able to have the meeting. And
Chair
you can see
Stefan,
it would
I
have been
would
very
like
terrible.
to ask that there be a place on the agenda. I love having this capital projects report in the front. I would like there to be a place on the agenda so we could legitimately discuss it.
That'd
I
be very
have some
nice. Okay.
questions, nothing pressing, just some questions. But I felt uncomfortable and I got one red card, I didn't want any more, of bringing it up where it wasn't agendized.
Well, you'll notice he has not
You're
given
getting
us a
close
red
to
card
red
in a few
again, I
minutes, and I'm
think.
gonna get up and tear up his little red cards.
You're
You'll have to
definitely
get a
past
flag
yellow.
over there. Because I turn my back to him, see, I do this differently than you. He's very mad at me, he's gonna get those soft cushy things I hope to throw at me instead of hard rocks. Okay, so with nothing, yes, we are gonna recess back into closed session, so, just to let the public know, and we will be in there until we're done this time.
But we do not expect to have everything.
And
reported
we
out.
don't expect there to be anything to report out, but if there is, we will.
We'll report it out.
We will have to report it out somehow,
Officially, anyway.
Officially.
in the clouds. They're always up there, right? Okay, so we are at recess for closed session. Thank you.
Thank you.